983 The Wonderful Crown Prince 2. Grand Secretary Fong was a master in formations himself, and had already examined everything once. Sure enough, Feng Wu was thrilled when she saw the room of materials. She said, "Grandpa Fong, that's everything. You must have spent a fortune to get them." Grand Secretary Fong said grumpily, "Don't you talk about money with me. I didn't pay a cent, actually. All I did was dig out a few dozen spiritual stones from under my house." Feng Wu chuckled. She and Grand Secretary Fong had grown quite close over the past few months. Since the old man treated her like his own pupil, she didn't mind reciprocating this friendship. "To return this favor, I think I'll prolong your life." Feng Wu winked at him. Once the Tai formation was completed, one would be able to enjoy a longer life just by staying in it. The formation was that awesome. Feng Wu had finished designing the formation and was ready to move on to the actual work. There was no time to waste, and Feng Wu went back to tell her family the news. She would receive no visitors for the next 7 days. Qiuling cried out, "But, miss, school starts in 3 days." It might be a problem for other people, but Feng Wu was working for the principal of the college himself. All she needed was a word from the old man. Feng Wu waved her hand. "Don't worry about it. Tell no one. That's it." She took Feng Tutu out of her pocket after that, then gave the infinity storage bag to the cub, so that it could dig the tunnel for her. Feng Wu had everything planned out. Although the two manors were only a wall apart, she still needed a tunnel between Fallen Star Yard and Fang Manor as an escape route. As expected, Feng Tutu moved as quickly underground as on the surface. It worked quickly, stuffing all the dirt into the storage bag. As for the mouths of the tunnel, Feng Wu had decided that one end would start under her mother's bed and the other in the dry well in Grand Secretary Fang's yard. The dry well would be the core of the formation, making it the safest spot in Fang Manor. "You want to ask for leave for 4 days?" Grand Secretary Fang stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. "Will that be enough?" "7 days is all I need," Feng Wu said confidently. However, Grand Secretary Fang wasn't fully convinced. He wouldn't be able to do it if he were to set up the Tai formation himself. In Feng Wu's case, Grand Secretary Fang had made some calculations. No matter how exceptional the girl was, she would still need 3 to 5 years to complete the task. But the girl had just told him that 7 days was enough. Grand Secretary Fang couldn't believe it. It would usually take years, but now, 7 days will be enough. Feng Wu grinned. Grand Secretary Fang eyed her suspiciously. The girl seemed different today. She looked more alive and radiant, as if little fairies were popping out of her head. She was almost in an euphoric state. Almost everyone out there had turned against her, anyone else would have been crushed by the pressure, but this girl was glowing. That wasn't right. "What aren't you telling me? Why are you so happy?" Grand Secretary Fang asked. Feng Wu chuckled, but didn't reply. Qiuling told Feng Wu earlier that quite a few beggars had gathered outside their house. They had heard that a member of the family had gotten first in Imperial College's entrance exam, and were here for some good luck money. 984 The Wonderful Crown Prince 3. Feng Wu was so happy. Not because she had been accepted into Imperial College, but because she could talk to her beautiful master again. Moreover, this time, she had regained her ability, as well as gotten first in Imperial College's entrance exam. Thus, Feng Wu had instructed that every beggar who came to their door be rewarded generously. Grand Secretary Fang glanced at Feng Wu. The girl really was acting strangely today. Was she going to be all right? However, Grand Secretary Fang soon realized that he really didn't need to worry. Feng Wu started working on the formation. The hardest part wasn't positioning the spiritual stones, but drawing the inscriptions on them. The more complicated a formation was, the more difficult it was to draw the inscriptions. However, Grand Secretary Fang watched Feng Wu in amazement as she drew. Before each stroke, she would look to the right, as if she was receiving instructions from someone. She only paused for a few seconds each time before she nodded and started drawing. The extremely intricate inscription was completed in one smooth stroke. Such an inscription would take ordinary formation masters months to finish, given how many details it contained. One mistake, and one would have to start from scratch again. But it only took Feng Wu less than a minute to finish the inscription. Moreover, that's a level 5 inscription. Grand Secretary Feng's eyes popped out. Inscriptions came in different levels, which in turn determined the level of the formations. Most existing formations were level 1 or level 2. Level 3 formations were hard to come by, and level 4 was almost unheard of. Take the formations which Imperial College used as an example. The cultivation formation which they provided to first-year students was a level 1 formation. The more talented Year 1 students would live in the dormitory that had a level 2 formation. However, Feng Wu had gone straight for a level 5 formation. This was something that Imperial College provided to their top tutors. What was more, Grand Secretary Feng also noticed that the level 5 inscription was only a base, and Feng Wu was moving on to a level 6 inscription already. Level 6. Grand Secretary Feng opened his eyes wide and held his breath, fearing that he would accidentally disturb Feng Wu. 10 minutes later, Feng Wu was finishing up a level 6 inscription. However, when she was on the last stroke, her hand slipped and the spiritual stone shattered. Feng Wu was utterly frustrated. Frustrated? Grand Secretary Feng stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. What was the girl frustrated about? As far as he knew, less than a handful of people in the Empire could actually create a level 6 inscription. And one could probably only find them in some reclusive ancient family. No famous formation master that he knew of was able to create a level 6 inscription yet. She should have anticipated this failure. Feng Wu looked to her right again with flickering eyes, as if she was listening to someone. She gave it some thought before she started drawing again. But she failed once more. And she started on another one. But she failed once more. Grand Secretary Feng sighed. The girl was too young to create a level 6 inscription. Shaking his head, Grand Secretary Feng went to take his afternoon nap. He came back after he woke up, and was astonished by what he saw. He was speechless. For 3 stones with inscriptions on them lay on the table, every single one covered in a golden glow that was unique to a level 6 inscription. He couldn't believe it. The old man lunged toward the desk. He moved so fast that one wouldn't believe that he was an elderly man. Grabbing one of the stones, he turned it over in his hands with wide open eyes. He even forgot to blink. 985 The Wonderful Crown Prince 4. I can't believe this. I must be dreaming. Grand Secretary Feng stared at the stones in astonishment. Was he really looking at level 6 inscriptions? How was that even possible? However, Feng Wu only looked up at Grand Secretary Feng and gave him a nod. She then closed her eyes and began to draw. Soon, she handed him another stone, the ink on it still wet. Grand Secretary Feng almost lost his balance when he saw what was on it. He never anticipated that Feng Wu could learn to draw a level 6 inscription in such a short period of time. As a matter of fact, Feng Wu wouldn't have been able to do it before. But now, she had her beautiful master with her. Her master used to be the ruler of this continent, and was practically a walking library. The guy was omniscient. Nothing could compare with a few instructions from her beautiful master himself. Feng Wu's swift progress was a hard blow to Grand Secretary Feng. He left the room with a hand on his chest. Feng Wu watched as the old man left, then turned to her master, the ethereal beauty. Feng Wu asked, was that too much for Grand Secretary Feng? Her master asked, are you worried about him? Feng Wu said, it's not like that, but Grand Secretary Feng has really helped me a lot. Without him, my life would have been so much harder. I still feel a little guilty for not being able to repay his kindness. He wanted to take me in as his pupil once. The last words seemed to stir her beautiful master a little. His pupil. Feng Wu raised her head, showing her smooth forehead and bright eyes. That's right. I'm a genius, and many people want me as their pupil. But... Putting down her pen, Feng Wu ran over to her master and made a gesture of tugging at his wide sleeve. Although she couldn't actually touch him, she still liked the feeling of that interaction. But, I have a beautiful master already, and you're the only master I'll have for as long as I live. No matter how impressive the others are, I won't have any other masters. Am I right, master? Feng Wu looked up at her master, waiting for his compliment. You naughty thing. Her beautiful master was an incredible beauty to begin with. With that smile on his face, no one could resist his charm. Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat. Her master then chanted, "Is the blueness of heaven its real color? Or does it look like that just because it is so far off?" Feng Wu was confused. What? Her master recited a long passage that contained thousands of words. Feng Wu realized that it was something profound, but couldn't quite understand the meaning. It's called free and easy wandering, a mental cultivation method to enhance one's internal organs. It's a gift to him. Her beautiful master stood there, tucking his hands in his wide sleeves behind his back. He was as elegant and composed as ever, but Feng Wu seemed to detect an envious look in his eyes. Envious? Feng Wu rubbed her eyes. When she looked at her master again, he was still that serene man that she was used to. That abnormal emotion was nowhere to be found. Her beautiful master was always as unperturbed as the calmest water. There was no way he would feel envious. Such an emotion was for someone like Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu looked at her master with sparkling eyes. Master, what about me? I want to learn a mental cultivation method, too. Her master glanced at her. It was only a casual glance, but it was dazzling enough to take her breath away. Feng Wu's beautiful master rapped her forehead with his knuckles. You'll get one if you finish 100 character seals before tonight. Wow! Her beautiful master was the best. He already had a gift ready. Feng Wu was delighted and nodded her head repeatedly. She happily went back to drawing inscriptions. 986 with her beautiful master around. 100 inscriptions before nightfall. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. At her current speed, she would only be able to achieve that if she stayed very focused the entire time without taking a break. However, she was happy to do it when her beautiful master was by her side. Taking a deep breath, she settled her mind and started working on the inscriptions. Because of her earlier injuries, drawing was a little more difficult than usual, but she gritted her teeth and ignored the pain. When she finally finished all 100 inscriptions, she was soaked in sweat and her clothes looked like they had just been pulled out of water. However, Grand Secretary Fang nearly fainted again when he saw what Feng Wu had accomplished. She hadn't just created 100 inscriptions, but 100 level 6 inscriptions. That was almost terrifying. Feng Wu grinned when she saw Grand Secretary Fang. She then handed him a notebook, in which she had transcribed the text that her master had recited to her. What's this? Grand Secretary Fang asked. Feng Wu said, It's a gift from my master. Grand Secretary Fang was surprised. Your master? This wasn't the first time that Feng Wu had talked about her master, but who's your master? Feng Wu tilted her head. I don't want to scare you with his name. Grand Secretary Fang rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. It has been a while since someone scared me, and I don't think your master can do that, unless he's someone as incredible as Mu Jiuzhou. Mu Jiuzhou used to be an awe-inspiring name on this continent, but so many years had passed since then that only the most capable cultivators remembered him now. Barely any commoners still knew who he was. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. As a matter of fact, her beautiful master was Mu Jiuzhou himself. Grand Secretary Fang left with the notebook, looking a little disgruntled since Feng Wu wouldn't tell him who her master was. Master, what shall we do next? Feng Wu looked up at her beautiful master with reverence. With her beautiful master around, the air felt fresher, the flowers sweeter, and the evening glow more colorful. The world had turned into a fairyland. Studying the dark circles under Feng Wu's eyes, her beautiful master shook his head. Go wash your face and have something to eat. Yes, of course. Feng Wu went back to Fallen Star Yard in a cheerful mood. Qiuling was surprised to see Feng Wu back. Miss, I didn't know you were coming back. Feng Wu nodded happily. I'm back. Please set the table. I'll eat with my mum after I take a shower. She went to the bathroom right after that. Qiuling and Qiaoge exchanged looks in amazement. They had expected that Feng Wu would stay in the house next door for the next 7 days without eating or resting, and that thought had worried them. To their surprise, not only did Feng Wu come back before dark, she even asked for food. After the shower and dinner, Feng Wu talked to her master again. Master, what shall I do now? Her beautiful master said in a calm voice, Now, you sleep. Feng Wu didn't want to. She only had 7 days with her master, and she didn't want to waste the time on sleeping. Feng Wu pleaded with her eyes. Come on. Go to bed. Her beautiful master sat down on the edge of the bed. His wide sleeves fell to the floor, and the look in his eyes was as gentle as the moonlight outside. Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat. Yes. 987 Attracted to each other. Feng Wu had never been this obedient, nor had she ever gone to bed before midnight. Seeing the light turn off in Feng Wu's bedroom, Qiaoge and Qiuling looked at each other in disbelief. Qiaoge said, Am I seeing things? Qiuling said, I can't remember the last time Miss Wu went to bed before midnight. She stays up late all the time. Qiaoge said, Was it something she ate? Why is she looking after herself all of a sudden? Qiuling said, Miss Wu used to go to bed early 5 years ago. Qiuling and Qiaoge were at a loss. They couldn't guess what was going on with Feng Wu. Feng Wu woke up early the following morning to the sound of birds singing outside her room. Sitting up in bed, Feng Wu looked out her window. As expected, there stood a man dressed all in white. He was tall, well-proportioned, and graceful. The sight of him reminded her of a blue sky, white clouds, and flowing streams in the mountain. He was the epitome of relaxation. She had never noticed the chirping birds, but with her master under the tree, the yard had turned into a painting. Although the birds couldn't see her beautiful master, they could sense him. Animals were sensitive that way. Her master looked over his shoulder. His fair skin looked almost transparent in the sunlight. You're awake. Starting her day with the singing birds in the company of her master, Feng Wu was over the moon. She almost felt like singing herself. Just then, she heard footsteps outside. Then, someone sat down on the wall and called loudly, cupping their hands around their mouth. Little Feng Wu. Little Feng Wu. Little Feng Wu. They called in an unhurried tone, completely oblivious to the noise that they were making. Duan Qiaoge rushed out of her room and scolded Feng Sun. Xiao Wu is cultivating in seclusion and she's not to be disturbed. Young Lord Feng, please leave. Feng Sun kept howling. Little Feng Wu, little Feng Wu, little Feng Wu. And Xian Yi was with him. It was just that Xian Yi was sitting under the grape trellis instead of on the wall, and he was drinking. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. Everyone coming and going would see Feng Sun on her wall, which could start another round of rumors. She already had more than enough to deal with. Taking a deep breath, Feng Wu reined in her temper. She needed to maintain a good image when her master was around. She only walked out of her room after she calmed down. Feng Sun's eyes lit up when he spotted Feng Wu. However, he didn't jump off the wall, but only sat there with his legs dangling in the air. He studied Feng Wu with great interest. Feng Wu found him ridiculous. Feng Sun, what are you doing up there? Feng Sun swiftly jumped off the wall and landed right in front of Feng Wu, keeping his eyes on her the entire time. He jabbed Feng Wu's forehead with a finger. You've been keeping a lot of secrets from me. Feng Wu looked puzzled. What secrets? Had he found out about her beautiful master? About Boss June? Little Feng Wu, I didn't know you were that kind of a person. Feng Sun grunted. Feng Wu buried her face in her hands. Not again. Feng Sun must have seen the first part of that video and thought that she had kissed Jun Linyuan when he was unconscious. She was about to explain, when Feng Sun added, you and Boss Jun have been attracted to each other all this time, but you kept all of us in the dark. That's so unfair. 988 Heard by the beautiful master. Attracted to each other? That had to be the most shocking statement Feng Wu had ever heard in years. Involuntarily, she looked back at her beautiful master. The parent was watching. As expected, she detected a slightly displeased look in her master's eyes. Feng Wu grabbed Feng Sun by his collar. What attraction? I don't know what you're talking about. Feng Sun found her reaction strange. Well, you like Boss June and Boss June likes you. That's mutual attraction, isn't it? Feng Wu was infuriated. Looking around, she saw that her master, who had been standing by the window, was gone. Feng Wu panicked. Did he hear that? Little Feng Wu, was I wrong? Feng Sun snorted. You guys kept it from me all this time. Feng Wu flared up. There is no mutual attraction between me and Jun Linyuan. He doesn't even like me. But Feng Sun was certain of his conclusion. He likes you. Feng Wu said, I don't like him. Feng Sun mumbled, how can you not be in love with him? You went to his room in the middle of the night on our way back. Feng Sun. Feng Wu glared at him. Feng Sun said, all right. I take that back. Although, don't you owe me another explanation? Feng Wu asked, and what might that be for? Feng Sun said, little Feng Wu, I see that you kept mum about recovering your ability. Feng Wu cleared her throat and avoided Feng Sun's eyes. If he knew that she was the one who had stolen their immortal spiritual fruit, which in turn enabled her to get her ability back, Feng Sun would probably kill her right here and right now. Feng Sun pressed harder. When did you recover? I bet you already had your ability back when we met you in Northern Border City. Feng Wu nodded repeatedly. Yes, that's right. Feng Sun patted Feng Wu on the head. You silly girl. It's great news. Why did you keep it from us? Feng Wu grinned. Well, I thought I would tell you guys after I caught up to your cultivation levels. Catch up to us? Ha, that'll never happen. Feng Sun said arrogantly. Feng Wu raised her chin. I got into Imperial College with the highest marks in both the written exam and the physical tryout. Could you have done that? As a matter of fact, Feng Sun couldn't. He had taken the entrance exam in the same year as Jun Linyuan, there was no way that he could have gotten first. Feng Sun was rendered speechless. He threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. You're such a... You know what? Forget it. I'll see you in 2 days for the induction. Feng Wu wanted to tell him that she wouldn't be there for the induction, but Feng Sun was gone before she could say anything. He and Xian Yi left as quickly as they had come. Especially Xian Yi, who didn't even say a word during the brief visit. However, he had kept his gaze on Feng Wu the entire time, a knowing look in his eyes. Feng Wu rubbed her head. What was that about? She then recalled what Feng Sun said and found it amusing. Jun Linyuan was in love with her. Feng Sun had to be dreaming. Shaking her head, Feng Wu wanted to get all the strange thoughts out of her mind. She then turned around to find her beautiful master behind her. Master! Feng Wu beamed at him with a wide smile that was more wonderful than spring sunshine or morning dew. Her beautiful master stood there with his hands behind his back. His wide sleeves draped down to the ground, which only added to his exceptional appearance. The look he gave Feng Wu was colder than usual. Shouldn't you be working on your inscriptions now? Feng Wu rubbed her nose. Her master hadn't changed at all. She had only enjoyed one day of his affection before he was back to his old aloof self. Her good day was over. 989 Is her beautiful master leaving? As expected, her beautiful master didn't say anything else to her other than to give her the necessary instructions in teaching her how to draw inscriptions. Feng Wu worked assiduously, putting more effort into her task than she usually did. For the next few days, Feng Wu didn't return to her fallen star yard. She was focused solely on the formation. Her beautiful master taught her a swordplay set while she worked on the formation. It was the second part of Star and Moon swordplay. Together, the stances were known as fallen stars. However, Feng Wu had only been able to master the first 3 stances so far. But as soon as Feng Wu struck out with those 3 stances, she felt so much more empowered. They were a huge improvement from the first part of the swordplay she had learned before. What a pity. Her beautiful master heaved a sigh. Feng Wu paused in her practice and looked at her master in bewilderment. Her master looked at her affectionately. You still need one more sword. Isn't my flaming sword enough? Feng Wu looked at the one she was holding. She thought it was good enough. Plus, her beautiful master had had this one specially forged for her back then. Her beautiful master's eyes flickered. Flaming sword used to be enough, but now that you specialize in both fire and ice, it's not as efficient. His tone remained mild, but his suggestion wasn't open to any doubt. Feng Wu agreed with him after some thought. The Heart of Frost essence in fact wasn't the most valuable thing she had obtained in Proud Snowfield, it was her new specialty in the ice attribute. Working on 2 attributes at the same time would slow down her cultivation speed, but the results would be much more impressive than if she worked on the fire attribute alone. But what sword should I get? Feng Wu was puzzled. She stopped making decisions when her master was around, for her beautiful master always made the best calls. He used to be the ruler of the continent, and had witnessed more in this world than anyone could imagine. Therefore, Feng Wu trusted him wholeheartedly. Her beautiful master kept his gaze on her and said in a gentle but decisive voice, You can keep Flaming Sword before you reach the spiritual elder stage. After that, you must switch to a new one. He added, I've told Little Phoenix the specifics. When the time comes, it will give you instructions on how to find your new sword. Feng Wu said, All right. Her master went on. I've also told Little Phoenix about the remaining stances. It will teach you everything. Feng Wu said, All right. And in Imperial College. He then drew Feng Wu an inscription in the shape of a heptagram. Remember this pattern, said her beautiful master. If anyone gives you a hard time in Imperial College, take this inscription to the forbidden area behind the mountain, and someone will give you a hand. It saddened Feng Wu to hear him talk like this. Master, aren't you supposed to be here for 7 days? I thought we still had a day left. Her beautiful master's face glowed in the light. He stood there with his hands behind his back as his robe flapped in the wind. He looked so tranquil. And his eyes were as brooding as they were clear. Silly girl, we only had 6 days. He tried to pat Feng Wu's head. However, he was only a shadow and couldn't touch her. Something flickered in his eyes, which seldom gave away any emotions. He sighed. Kiddo, take good care of yourself. He then slowly faded away. No! Feng Wu shrieked. She tried to hold her master's sleeve, and she trembled with sorrow. No! No! Master, don't leave me. 990 Breaking news. However, her beautiful master faded away, just like 5 years ago. No! Feng Wu dropped to her knees and burst into tears when the shadow of her master disappeared from between her fingers. Right at that moment. All of a sudden. An incredible fluctuation of spiritual essence spread out from Fang Manor. An intense burst of spiritual essence shot up into the sky. Feng Wu raised her head involuntarily and looked in the direction of the house in bewilderment, her eyes still watery. What was going on? Was someone making a breakthrough? Just then, all of a sudden, boom! Lightning flashes tore the sky open, and there was an ear-splitting rumbling. A streak of lightning struck with incredible force, aiming right for Fang Manor. What on earth was going on? Feng Wu wasn't the only one shocked, so was the entire imperial capital. Also on this side of the wall, Feng Yanfeng was sick in bed from all his previous frustrations, and the thunderclap made him jump. He bolted up in astonishment. Seeing streaks of lightning strike Fang Manor repeatedly, Feng Yanfeng rejoiced at first. Grand Secretary Fang had always been a low-key figure, and had declined when Feng Yanfeng tried to extend his friendship to the old man. With the lightning storm taking place exclusively over Fang Manor, Feng Yanfeng believed that this was a punishment from God. However, Feng Yanfeng soon realized that wasn't the case. That wasn't right. If it was only a lightning storm, what was that buzzing sound? Wait! It was someone trying to make a breakthrough. Judging by all the noise. What cultivation level had Grand Secretary Fang been at before? The Zhuo family. Zhuo Ming was throwing a tantrum at home. He had hired Guillotine 7 to kill Feng Wu, but Feng Wu was still walking around, and that Guillotine 7 had disappeared. Guillotine 7 was supposed to be a spiritual elder. What on earth was Feng Wu's cultivation level? Just then, he heard the rumbling. What was that? Zhuo Ming rose to his feet in astonishment. As a capable cultivator himself, of course he recognized that sound. It wasn't common lightning, but the sign of a capable cultivator making a breakthrough. Zhuo Ming and his wife stood by the window and looked in the direction of the lightning. They frowned. Is that the direction of the Feng clan? Could it be Feng Wu? Zhuo Ming blanched. No. It couldn't be. Feng Wu wasn't even a spiritual elder yet. She wouldn't be able to generate such noise. Soon, secret guards showed up to report to Zhuo Ming. It came from Grand Secretary Fang's residence. Zhuo Ming calmed down. So, the Feng clan had nothing to do with it. The Imperial Palace. Emperor Wu and the Empress Dowager were discussing Jun Li Yuan's injuries when they heard the rumbling. Emperor Wu bolted up. He knew what that was. Who's the lucky person? Without another word, Emperor Wu climbed up the watchtower. There, he saw all the lightning strike Grand Secretary Fang's house. That excited Emperor Wu. It was Grand Secretary Fang. Everyone had thought that he was too old to make any more progress, and that his days were numbered. This breakthrough was a surprise to them all. Emperor Wu knew what level Grand Secretary Fang had been at before, and he realized what this breakthrough meant. Grand Secretary Fang would be second only to Emperor Wu in cultivation level. This is great news. The Empire is going to have another capable cultivator. Emperor Wu made a fist. But it wasn't time to celebrate just yet. For the lightning tribulation hadn't ended. All would be lost if Grand Secretary Fang couldn't pull through. Emperor Wu wasn't the only one waiting. The entire imperial capital held their breaths. No one dared to go anywhere near Fang Manor. 991 thrilled. Fallen Star Yard. Anxiety overwhelmed the yard one wall away from Fang Manor. Despite the lightning storm next door, however, Fallen Star Yard didn't suffer any damage at all. What's going on over there? Qiuling was almost in tears. Miss Wu is still in Fang Manor and hasn't come back for days. What are we going to do now? Qiaoge blurted out. I'm going to get Xiao Wu back. However, as soon as she jumped onto the wall, countless electric currents ran through her body. Poor girl. She cried out and fell off the wall right away. Frightened, Qiuling ran to help Qiaoge. However, even Qiuling almost got an electric shock, and her clothes were nearly burnt. She smelled something burning. Taking Chaoga's hands, Qiuling saw that the latter's palms had turned black. That shocked Qiuling, and she was on the verge of tears. Wait here, Miss Chaoga. I'll go fetch some medicine. However, Chaoga paid no attention to her injured hands. She only glared at the wall, the top of which crackled with streaks of lightning. I can't go in there. Chaoga pounded her fists on the ground, which made her draw in her breath with pain. What should she do now? Xiao Wu was still in there. Would Xiao Wu be all right? At the same moment, Feng Wu thought she was equally flustered. Staying in a house that was within range of the lightning storm, she knew better than anyone how intense it was. The window to Grand Secretary Fang's room was open, and she could see that the old man was on the verge of collapse. Lightning tribulations usually occurred in 9 cycles. 6 had taken place so far, but Grand Secretary Feng Wu saw that the old man's face was drained of all color, and he could barely sit up. But each cycle was supposed to be more powerful than the previous one. Therefore Feng Wu gritted her teeth. Grand Secretary Feng wouldn't be able to make it. If he could pull through, he would be like a phoenix reborn in fire. He would be one of the most powerful cultivators in the empire, instead of what he was now, a man with enough connections, but without a cultivation level high enough to convince the others. But if he couldn't? Feng Wu closed her eyes. Grand Secretary Fang's breakthrough had to have something to do with that free and easy wandering manual that her beautiful master had given him. Therefore, if anything happened to Grand Secretary Feng Wu knew that she would blame herself for it for the rest of her life. She couldn't let anything happen to Grand Secretary Feng. But what could she do to help? Just then, she heard the rumbling. The 7th cycle had arrived. Shit! Feng Wu saw the lightning strike the very room which Grand Secretary Feng was in. Crack! The house was in a ramshackle state, as if it could collapse at any moment. However, something seemed to block the lightning before it reached Grand Secretary Feng, reducing its power. It was the Tai formation. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. The formation was working. Feng Wu had finished part of the Tai formation, which covered the area Grand Secretary Feng was in at the moment. That was what was hindering the lightning. Yes. Feng Wu saw the light. Would she be able to help Grand Secretary Feng make it through the tribulation if she finished setting up the entire formation? That thought excited Feng Wu. She had finished drawing most of the level 6 inscriptions, and there were only more than 20 to go. Without hesitation, Feng Wu ran to her desk and started drawing. Maybe it was because of how pressing the situation was, but Feng Wu worked faster than before as she drew smooth strokes on the stones with her pen. 992 alive or dead. She didn't make a single mistake. Feng Wu finished all 20 level 6 inscriptions in one go without any interruptions. And she did all that in less than 15 minutes, which was an unprecedented record in the entire Junwu Empire. Record-breaking or not, Feng Wu wasn't in the mood to care about that. Her top priority now was to set up the Tai formation as quickly as possible. Feng Wu wished her master was still here as she busied herself with putting the inscribed stones in the right positions. She was sure that her master would know how to help Grand Secretary Feng. And he would be able to think of more than one way. That only made Feng Wu even more determined. She had to collect all 5 broken star pieces. Jun Linyuan knew the whereabouts of the second piece, which meant that she would have to go to him later. But Feng Wu had no time to think about that right now. She was fully occupied with the Tai formation. Boom! The 8th cycle arrived right on time. The sheer power shook the ground, and Feng Manor threatened to collapse. Feng Wu was thrown into the air by the impact. She turned around to find Grand Secretary Feng covered in blood. Blood was running out of his ears, nostrils, eyes. He seemed to have been rendered unconscious. And the 9th cycle, which was supposed to be the most powerful one, had yet to come. The energy it contained was the sum of the first 8 cycles put together. Feng Wu was covered in electric burns, and she swore she could smell roasting meat. If Grand Secretary Fong couldn't withstand the 9th cycle. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. She would be killed, too. So would everyone in Fong Manor. Feng Wu only grew calmer in critical moments like these. Taking a deep breath, she chose to busy herself with the things she could control. She would do what she could, and leave the rest to fate. 70%, 80%, 90%. Despite her injuries, Feng Wu ran back and forth in the manor, placing the spiritual stones with level 6 inscriptions in the right spots. 3 more minutes to go. Dark clouds covered the sky, giving it a gloomy appearance. Many people in the imperial capital had climbed onto their roofs and were looking in the direction of Fong Manor. Nah, Fong Manor won't make it. I saw the house shaking during the 8th cycle. I saw that, too. The house almost collapsed. Fong Manor represents Grand Secretary Fong. He'll fail when the house collapses. Are you saying that Grand Secretary Fong won't be able to withstand the lightning tribulation? He's an old man, after all. The rumor is that his days are numbered. A breakthrough at this point would be too much for him. If Grand Secretary Fong succeeds, he'll become as famous as Mr. Liu, but if he fails, it'll be his end. Sigh. Some rejoiced while others worried. In the imperial palace. Emperor Wu had always been close to Grand Secretary Fong, and it was agonizing for him to see Grand Secretary Fong in this state. Standing in the watchtower with his hands behind his back, Emperor Wu looked keenly in the direction of Fong Manor. Dark clouds had gathered above the house, and lightning flashed. Your Majesty, look. Empress Dugu, who was keeping Emperor Wu company, pointed at the sky. I think the lightning is gathering into a ball. 993 The last moment. The look on Emperor Wu's face turned even grimmer. He had only seen a ball of lightning once before, during Jun Li Nguyen's breakthrough. More streaks of lightning were absorbed, and the ball grew bigger and more threatening. Emperor Wu's face was so dark that it was like a stormy night. The 9th cycle was already as powerful as the first 8 cycles put together. Now that it had gathered into a ball. Grand Secretary Fong didn't stand a chance. No one would be able to help him. A lightning tribulation was a rule set by nature itself, and one had to go through it all by themselves. Anyone who tried to intervene would find their efforts turning on them with power that was 100 times stronger than the lightning tribulation itself. Grand Secretary Fong is going to die. Everyone in the imperial capital who saw the ball of lightning shook their heads and sighed. Regardless of how sincere their sorrowful tones were, they agreed on one thing: Grand Secretary Fong wouldn't be able to make it. Wow! In Fallen Star Yard. Chaoga and the others were worried sick. Qiuling kept darting looks at Lady Xuanji. It was only the other day that Lady Xuanji had turned into this human punching machine and beaten the crap out of Feng Yanfeng. The memory was still fresh in Qiuling's mind. All she wished now was for Lady Xuanji to switch into that mode again. However, when Qiuling told Lady Xuanji what happened, to Qiuling's surprise, Lady Xuanji's eyes rolled back and she passed out. Ah, that didn't help with Qiuling's panicked state at all. All hell broke loose in Fallen Star Yard. At the same time, more streaks of lightning kept gathering in the sky above Fong Manor. In the end, the ball was larger than the houses of the manor. Then, it began to fall. Feng Wu looked up at the descending ball of lightning, and her heart pounded. Shit! She only had 1 minute left. Quickly! Feng Wu could no longer feel her hands after all the electric shocks. And it wasn't just her hands. The numbing pain ran through her entire body. However, fueled by sheer willpower in a critical moment like this, Feng Wu was still running around and working on the formation. Most of the people in Fong Manor had been struck unconscious at the first lightning strike. Steward Fong was drifting in and out of consciousness. He wasn't able to move a muscle, but could still see what was going on. Seeing that Feng Wu was still trying her best when the air was filled with arcs of electric energy, the old man was moved to tears. What a wonderful girl. She could have left, for the underground tunnel was finished. She could have run back to the Feng clan next door. However, she didn't do that. Instead, she was still trying to set up the formation. The old steward made a mental note. He would repay Miss Feng Wu's kindness with all his might, and give her all the help she would ever need. It was seconds before the lightning ball hit the house. The entire empire believed that Grand Secretary Feng was going to be killed. Even Grand Secretary Feng himself didn't think he could pull through. Feng Wu leapt into the air and tossed the heart of frost essence into the dry well. The core was set and the Tai formation was finished. Instantly, the inscriptions that seemed to be scattered all over the place were connected by what seemed like an electric current, and they shone with a dazzling light. Inscriptions floated in the air above Feng Manor. They seemed to sense the pressure from above. As a result, a giant shield made of inscriptions materialized in the air. Right at that moment. 994 A close call. Right at that moment, the lightning struck with tremendous force. Everyone in the imperial capital thought that Grand Secretary Feng was doomed. Even Emperor Wu looked sorry. At that critical moment, the Tai formation was completed. Boom! Thud! The lightning struck the protective shield created from the formation's inscriptions. Boom! There was a blinding golden light, and the entire imperial capital rumbled. The energy created by the impact was enough to shake heaven and earth. It felt as if the sky was going to crack open. Many were thrown off their feet, and fell to the floor. Oh my God! Grand Secretary Feng isn't going to survive this. What a pity. Our empire would have another supreme master if he makes it, but now. Isn't Grand Secretary Feng the acting principal of Imperial College? Who will take the position once he's gone? Zhuo Ming, the head of the Zhuo clan, I think. He almost got that position the other day. The Zhuo family. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Ming guffawed inwardly as he watched Feng Manor get struck repeatedly by lightning. There was nothing for him to worry about anymore. Grand Secretary Feng was dead before Zhuo Ming had even made another move. The Zhuo clan had always been lucky. When numerous people in the imperial capital were ready to mourn or celebrate. All of a sudden. Hey, look! Many people were still looking at Feng Manor from their roofs, and their eyes widened in disbelief. The manor that they thought was going to collapse. The manor that had been bent out of shape. It bounced back with a strength that no one imagined it had. The lightning kept exploding and sparks filled the air. But Feng Manor managed to block everything out. And it was still standing. That was it. Many people in the imperial capital watched this in amazement. How could this be? That wasn't possible. However disbelieving they were, this was happening, and it was a fact. They were all witnesses. Holy crap! Feng Manor hasn't collapsed. I saw it go down, but it righted itself. Isn't the manor made from brick? Can it bend like a spring? Many people were asking similar questions. In the imperial palace, Emperor Wu's eyes lit up. Ha 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 ha, he couldn't help but laugh wholeheartedly. Grand Secretary Feng made it. My empire has one more great master now. Send him my reward. Wait. I'll deliver it myself. I'm going to congratulate the new protector of my empire. Emperor Wu was in a great mood. Next to him, Empress Dugu was in a foul mood. Last time she checked, Grand Secretary Feng wasn't on her side. If she remembered correctly, that old man had stood up for Feng Wu on multiple occasions. Empress Dugu clenched her fists. This wouldn't do. She had to think of a way to win Grand Secretary Feng's favor. At that thought, she quickly went back to her room, wrote a letter, and had it delivered right away. The Zhuo family. It was Zhuo Ming whose mood underwent the most radical changes during this breakthrough tonight. Right now, his face was livid and twisted. He was furious. Thud. He smashed a table with his fists, turning the marble top into rubble. The last thing he expected was for Grand Secretary Fong to make it out of this alive. Fine, fine. We'll see about that. Zhuo Ming threw another table into the air. 995 Do you know my beautiful master? Fong Manor. When the last cycle exploded over Fong Manor, Little Phoenix, who had kept silent until then, alerted Feng Wu. Collect the lightning energy now. Don't let it go to waste. That's the essence of all the lightning. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. That was right. Absorbing the energy emanated by the lightning could significantly improve the power of the Tai formation. At that thought, Feng Wu picked up a pen and began to run around in the formation, adding inscriptions to the spiritual stones she had put down. If Grand Secretary Fong had had his breakthrough a few days earlier, Feng Wu wouldn't have been able to use this collection method. Thanks to her beautiful master's teaching in the past few days, however, Feng Wu had made great progress in her inscriptions. After some quick maneuvering, Feng Wu was able to collect half of the energy released by the lightning. To everyone else, the electric currents had simply faded and dissipated in the air. The truth, however, was that they were now stored in the inscriptions, and would shoot out when the formation was activated, protecting all of Fong Manor. Feng Wu was thrilled when she saw that the Tai formation was working properly and protecting the house. Little Phoenix's reminder was a timely one. After collecting the lightning energy, she could always tell everyone that it was left over from Grand Secretary Fong's breakthrough the next time she used the formation. It would also be the perfect explanation for the shield, and she wouldn't have to make up an excuse for the Tai formation. Just then Grand Secretary Fong opened his eyes. Something flickered in them. His clothes were in tatters and half of his beard was gone, but he was full of vigor. Grand Secretary Fong looked out the open window and spotted Feng Wu right away. Xiao Wu. The next moment, Grand Secretary Fong was by Feng Wu's side, and he stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. The look in his eyes was a mix of delight, excitement, curiosity, and astonishment. Xiao Wu. Holding Feng Wu by her slim shoulders, Grand Secretary Fong said in agitation, "Who gave you that free and easy wandering manual?" "Who? Tell me." Feng Wu tilted her head. "Just some random guy passing through." Grand Secretary Fong looked worked up. Was he dressed all in white and had an ethereal feel to him? Feng Wu said, "Well, I suppose so." Grand Secretary Fong was shaking all over. Considering his age, Feng Wu was worried that he might pass out at any moment. She said in a hurry, "Grandpa Fong, slow down. You're a little too excited." Ignoring Feng Wu's words, Grand Secretary Fong stared at Feng Wu. Was he an immortal-like young man? Feng Wu said, "Well, you could say that." Grand Secretary Fong asked, "Was that man all-powerful and looked invincible?" Feng Wu said, "I don't know about that." Grand Secretary Fong went on. "He could destroy everything with a wave of his hand, couldn't he?" Feng Wu stammered, "How am I supposed to know that?" Grand Secretary Fong cried out, "Was he called Mu Jojo?" Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat. Mu Jojo. Well, her beautiful master's name was indeed Mu Jojo, and he used to rule the continent, but how could Grand Secretary Fong guess that right away? Feng Wu said, "I don't know." Grand Secretary Fong flushed with excitement, and even his beard trembled. "Where is he? Where is he now?" Feng Wu said, "I don't know." Grand Secretary Fong glared at Feng Wu. "So what do you know?" 996 Grand Secretary Fong the fanboy. However, the effect of his bellow was unexpected. Grand Secretary Fong still hadn't adapted to his new cultivation level, and didn't have perfect control over his own power yet. Feng Wu was blown into the air by his growl. Shit! Realizing what he had done, Grand Secretary Fong rushed over and caught Feng Wu before she hit the ground. He would feel so guilty if Feng Wu was hurt in the fall. Feng Wu was equally shaken. That was so impressive of Grand Secretary Fong. He opened his mouth, and the next thing she knew, she was in the air. Although, the old man was surprisingly excited. After a lifetime in the political world, there was little that the old man hadn't seen. Feng Wu had thought that nothing could shake him any longer, and that he would be able to keep his composure in any situation. However, the old man was acting like a teenager, a fanboy, to be more precise. She wouldn't believe it if she wasn't seeing it for herself. Grand Secretary Fong put Feng Wu down in a fluster, but he didn't seem any calmer. Xiao Wu, think carefully. How did you meet that elder? Elder? Feng Wu inwardly rolled her eyes. Her beautiful master was still a young man. He was anything but old. Feng Wu hesitated a little when she saw how excited Grand Secretary Fong was. However, her beautiful master had instructed that she was the only one who could know of his existence, and that she wasn't to tell another soul. Thus, Feng Wu fought back her urge to tell the old man the truth. I saved that man's life and he gave me that, free and easy wandering, peace. But it's for someone with pure yang energy only, and as a girl, I'm anything but that. So, I thought I would give it to you. Grand Secretary Fong asked, where's that person now? Can you find him? Feng Wu tilted her head. He'll show up again, I think. And he'll probably come to me when he does. Grand Secretary Fong eyed Feng Wu suspiciously. If that person really was Mu Jiuzhou, why would he come to this girl again? However, Grand Secretary Fong remained hopeful. Feng Wu didn't want him to keep asking questions about her beautiful master, so she tried to change the subject. Is the method effective? She had asked the right question. Is it effective? Grand Secretary Fong stared at her in amazement. It's so effective that I was able to break through to the next cultivation level in a matter of days, even when I have 1 foot in the grave. I've been at a bottleneck for years. Feng Wu said, so, it's really effective, then. Grand Secretary Fong said in a solemn tone, of course. This manual is priceless. We'll be in a lot of trouble if others find out about it. And if our enemy hears of it, we may face a great war. That made Feng Wu jump. Is it that impressive? Feng Wu recalled that her beautiful master had just recited a random paragraph. She hadn't expected this. Of course it's that impressive. Grand Secretary Fong stared at Feng Wu solemnly. This method is unprecedented. Nothing can compare with it. Feng Wu said, then we must keep it a secret. No one can know. Grand Secretary Fong still had lingering doubts. Are you sure you'll see that master again? Feng Wu said, not anytime soon, I'm afraid. But I will when I find the second broken star piece. An idea struck Feng Wu all of a sudden. Those broken star pieces were giving her a headache. However, it would be so much easier if she could get Grand Secretary Fong to help her out. 997 All Hail His Majesty. Grand Secretary Fong promptly agreed to ask around for information on the broken star pieces. By the way, what cultivation level are you at now? Feng Wu asked curiously. The lightning tribulation this time was unheard of. If it wasn't for the Tai formation, both of us would have been killed. Grand Secretary Fong gave it some thought. Not counting those old reclusive buggers, I'm sure I'm now one of the top 5 cultivators in the Junwu Empire. Only top 5? Grand Secretary Fong threw her a dirty look. What do you mean by only? Kiddo, there are more capable people out there than you can imagine. Before this breakthrough, I was only in the top 20. Feng Wu's eyes lit up. That's such a huge improvement. Grand Secretary Fong said proudly, of course it is. I'm more or less on the same level as Northern Feng General now. Northern Feng General, aka Feng Sun's father, was stationed in the frontier region, and was known for his extraordinary capabilities. Who else is in the top 5 apart from the both of you? Feng Wu asked. Grand Secretary Fong was about to answer, when he heard footsteps outside. He raised an eyebrow. His Majesty is here. Feng Wu didn't want to be spotted here by Emperor Wu, for she would have a lot of explaining to do. So, she pointed at the dry well. I'm going home now. Talk to you later. After that, Feng Wu jumped into the well as swiftly as a cat and disappeared from sight. Grand Secretary Feng looked touched as he watched Feng Wu leave. He hadn't expected to make such a sincere young friend at his age. The girl could have left Feng Manor through that dry well earlier, for the lightning tribulation had nothing to do with her. She could have left freely. However, she had chosen to stay during that critical moment. She had also given him the free and easy wandering manual. Not to mention that she had set up the Tai formation, which saved his life. Moreover, that mysterious master had some secret connection to Feng Wu. If he really was Master Mu Jojo. Grand Secretary Feng didn't know what to think. If Master Mu was really alive. If that person really was him. Was that to say that he and Master Mu could be connected through Xiao Wu? Grand Secretary Feng was overwhelmed with excitement. It was Master Mu. At that moment, Emperor Wu entered the room in a hurry. Next door, Fallen Star Yard. The beautiful lady was ghastly pale and unconscious. Granny Zhao was telling Chilling off. How could you say those scary things to the lady? What were you thinking? Chilling looked frustrated and kept silent. Chilling had expected that the beautiful lady would rise up and switch into that warrior mode when she heard that her daughter was being bullied. However, the lady only passed out when she heard the news. Chaoga jumped onto the wall and saw the commotion in Grand Secretary Feng's courtyard. However, Feng Wu was nowhere to be seen, which flustered her. Just as she was about to jump off the wall, Feng Wu walked out of Lady Xuanji's room. Xiao Wu. Everyone cried out in surprise when they saw Feng Wu. Her hair was unkempt from all the electric shocks, her face was black, and her clothes were in tatters. She looked like a beggar. But at least, she was still alive. Both Chaoga and Chilling, who were going to give Feng Wu teary hugs, cracked up when they saw the state Feng Wu was in. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Chilling. Stop laughing already. Boil some water. I need to take a bath. 998 Sister, I want to get stronger, too. Once Feng Wu had cleaned herself up, Chilling helped treat her wounds. Seeing all the cuts on Feng Wu's body, Chilling burst into tears again. Why was it always Miss Wu? She kept getting hurt, and it never seemed to end. Hearing the sobs, Feng Wu turned around to find Chilling weeping. Why are you crying? Feng Wu rolled her eyes at her maid. Miss, can you try not to get hurt? Chilling said between broken sobs. You've got amazing skin, and it's being ruined by all these cuts. I don't know what to do. Chilling was still feeling distraught, when she sensed spiritual essence rushing into Feng Wu. Rumble. There was the sound of chanting in the air. To cultivators, that had to be the most amazing sound in the world. As a junior cultivator herself, Chilling recognized that sound. She covered her mouth and stared at Feng Wu in amazement. Meanwhile, her mistress had already entered a state of meditation. It was midnight when Feng Wu woke up again. Chilling had stayed with her the entire time, in case Feng Wu needed her help. Looking down, Feng Wu saw the scab remains that were scattered over the floor. She was happy to see the way she looked in the mirror. The skin on her face and her body was fair, smooth, and as translucent as white jade. The cuts were nowhere to be seen. Feng Wu beamed at Chilling. See? Problem solved. Feng Wu had enjoyed some personal gain from Grand Secretary Feng's breakthrough as well. She was a level 6 spiritual grandmaster now. She wondered what levels Hua Qinghuan was at now. A level 6 spiritual elder. At that thought, the smile on Feng Wu's face grew cold. She had been making progress at the fastest pace possible, it was now time for her to slow it down to a steady pace. She needed a solid foundation, or her future cultivation might be compromised. She would kill Zhuo Qinghuan eventually, but that woman was just one of the obstacles she needed to overcome on her journey toward becoming the top cultivator of this world. She wouldn't let Zhuo Qinghuan affect her cultivation progress. Feng Wu was still lost in her thoughts when she heard a knock on the door. Throwing a robe over her shoulders, Feng Wu opened the door. "Sister." Feng Xiaoqi looked up at her with the eyes of an innocent boy. So many things had happened recently, and her beautiful master's unexpected appearance had only added to everything. As a result, Feng Wu had neglected the other members of her family. Feng Wu rubbed the little guy's head. "Xiaoqi, what's wrong?" "Sister, I want to get stronger, too." Feng Xiaoqi said eagerly. "You were just next door, but there was nothing I could do to get in and help you. I felt so useless. Sister, I want to get stronger. I want to protect you." An idea struck Feng Wu. She was so busy with her own cultivation and searching for the broken star pieces that she had no time to teach Xiaoqi herself. But Grand Secretary Feng had the time. Didn't he say that he was among the top 5 cultivators of the empire now, and was as capable as Northern Feng General? That made him almost unmatched. One couldn't find a better teacher. And she took action right away. Taking Feng Xiaoqi's hand, Feng Wu said, "Come, I'm going to find you a new teacher." Qiuling and Granny Zhao cried out in unison. "Miss, it's the middle of the night." That was the best thing about living next door. Help was only a wall away. And she wouldn't need to worry about Xiaoqi getting kidnapped or lured away on his way to his classes. The more she thought about it, the more excited Feng Wu was. Tossing a "we'll be back soon" over her shoulder, she then jumped over the wall. 999 The Little Genius. Feng Manor. Grand Secretary Feng spent the entire afternoon talking to Emperor Wu. He was a loyal subject, and the emperor had gone out of his way to show his appreciation for the old man's talent. As a result, the conversation lasted well into the night. Emperor Wu left in a great mood and Grand Secretary Feng was just as happy. After seeing the emperor off, Grand Secretary Feng turned around to find Feng Wu and Feng Xiaoqi in his yard. "I see you have really sharp ears." Grand Secretary Feng beckoned Feng Wu over. Little Feng Wu had become his favorite person on earth. He had always known that the girl was a great talent worth teaching. Now that he was under the impression that she might have met Master Mu himself, Grand Secretary Feng couldn't control his excitement. Feng Wu chuckled. "You didn't tell His Majesty about free and easy wandering, did you?" Grand Secretary Feng rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. "Of course I didn't." "So, kiddo, what are you doing here in the middle of the night?" Feng Xiaoqi said, "Here's Xiaoqi, my brother. He needs a teacher, and since you have nothing better to do, how about giving him some instructions every now and then?" "Nothing better to do?" Grand Secretary Feng wanted to roll his eyes again. Did the girl have any idea how popular he had just become? He was as capable as Mr. Lu now. At the moment, he could even become the actual principal instead of just the acting principal. But little Feng Wu was asking him to babysit for her. But Grand Secretary Feng didn't turn her down. "All right, thanks for your faith in me. I'll give him the instruction he needs." Grand Secretary Feng wasn't all that interested in Feng Xiaoqi. For at Feng Xiaoqi's age, he should have already shown signs of growth. However, he was still merely a level 4 spiritual master. It was proof enough of his lack of talent. The Feng clan had used up all its luck on a genius like Feng Wu. They couldn't have another one. However, Feng Wu only grinned at Grand Secretary Feng. "Are you sure you don't want to examine your pupil?" Grand Secretary Feng rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. "There's no need." Feng Wu asked, "Why?" Grand Secretary Feng said, "Your clan already has you. There can't be another one. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair to all the other clans out there." Feng Wu chuckled. "But Xiaoqi really is a genius." Grand Secretary Feng said, "I don't believe you." If he really is a genius as you say, why is he still a level 4 spiritual master? You've got to be killing me. Feng Wu grinned. Grand Secretary Feng stared at Feng Wu, finding her grin strange. Had the girl just brought a genius to his doorstep? It couldn't be. How could the Feng clan? Taking Feng Xiaoqi's hand, Grand Secretary Feng examined him. Before his breakthrough, Grand Secretary Feng wouldn't have been able to find out what was amazing about Feng Xiaoqi, but now a moment later, Grand Secretary Feng put his hand down and stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. He looked from Feng Wu to Feng Xiaoqi. Poor Xiaoqi. He was completely baffled by the conversation. He had no idea what was going on. Grand Secretary Feng pointed at Feng Wu with a shaking finger. This is unbelievable. Your family is. Feng Wu smiled. I've brought you a genius, haven't I? Grand Secretary Feng rolled his eyes at her. If he's not a genius, who is? He has an ultimate spiritual body. The purest kind. The old man didn't know what to say. Why was the Feng clan so lucky? 1000 Master and Pupil. But how can this be? If the kid really has an ultimate spiritual body, why hasn't anyone found out about it? Why is he only a level 4 spiritual master? Feng Wu chuckled. That's because Xiaoqi only started cultivating less than a month ago. The boy had gone from scratch to level 4 in less than a month. Grand Secretary Feng was astonished. It would take any regular person at least a dozen years to reach Feng Xiaoqi's level from scratch. Those with some talent, such as Feng Lu, also had to cultivate for years before they reached level 5. But Feng Xiaoqi had been able to achieve it in a month. You're kidding me, right? Grand Secretary Feng stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled at Grand Secretary Feng. I'm not. Xiaoqi didn't start cultivating until a month ago. 1 month. Grand Secretary Feng shook his head with a wry smile. The Feng clan had to be blessed. Talented youngsters just seemed to fall on their doorstep. Well, if you don't find Xiaoqi good enough, Feng Wu made a gesture to leave with Feng Xiaoqi. Hey! Hey! Grand Secretary Feng panicked and stopped her. Wait! Don't go! Feng Wu looked over her shoulder at Grand Secretary Feng, but the old man only reached out and took Feng Xiaoqi's hand. You can go now. Leave the kid here, Grand Secretary Feng said decisively. What a wonderful pupil. He wouldn't be able to find many young men more talented than this one. It wasn't every day that he could find such an ideal pupil, and Grand Secretary Feng was determined that he wouldn't let this one slip through his fingers. However, Feng Xiaoqi threw Grand Secretary Feng's hand off and hid behind Feng Wu. Feng Wu chuckled. Grand Secretary Feng's eyes widened. He had just become one of the top 5 cultivators in the empire. Top 5. Feng Xiaoqi, I've agreed to take you in as a pupil. Shouldn't you be on your knees and formally acknowledging me as your master now? With his hands behind his back, Grand Secretary Feng raised his chin. Feng Xiaoqi, however, tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve and gave her a pleading look. Feng Wu rubbed his head. Xiaoqi, don't you want a master? Sister, can't you teach me yourself? Feng Xiaoqi sounded disappointed. I certainly want to, but I don't have the time. Grand Secretary Feng is your best option now, in terms of his cultivation and his connections. Grand Secretary Feng rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. That was direct. The girl had said those words right in front of him. She was probably one of the few people who dared talk to him like that. Feng Xiaoqi asked, Sister, do you think I need a master? Feng Wu smiled. If you don't want to, there's no harm in hanging around Grand Secretary Feng and learning from him. Feng Xiaoqi said, yes. Grand Secretary Feng stared at Feng Xiaoqi and Feng Wu in astonishment. Feng Wu said apologetically, Xiaoqi doesn't want a master yet. In that case, I'm afraid you'll have to bear with him. Grand Secretary Feng didn't even want to talk to Feng Wu now, if it wasn't for her mysterious connection with that master, who was very likely Mu Jiuzhou. Feng Xiaoqi was too talented a boy to be left to other people. The last thing Grand Secretary Feng wanted was to see someone else become the boy's teacher. With Xiaoqi figured out, Feng Wu's mind was at ease. However, she arrived home to find Qiuling eyeing her eagerly. Feng Wu then recalled what she had told Qiuling about her cultivation. She looked into Qiuling's eyes. "You've made up your mind." Qiuling knelt down and prostrated herself at Feng Wu's feet. 1001 First Day. "Yes, I have." Qiuling raised her head, the look on her face solemn. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. The girl didn't have to go that far. Taking a deep breath, Qiuling said in a serious tone, "I want to go wherever Miss Wu goes and be there for you all the time." Qiuling had been feeling uneasy for months. Her mistress was making progress at such an unbelievable speed, and growing stronger as one watched. Qiuling knew that if this went on, it would only be a matter of time before she was left so far behind that she wouldn't be able to catch up to Feng Wu even if she ran at full speed. Qiuling couldn't allow herself to remain so weak. If she didn't do something about it, she would only humiliate her mistress in the future when she got bullied again. Qiuling clenched her fists at that thought. Feng Wu kept her gaze on Qiuling for a long while. Realizing that her maid had made up her mind, Feng Wu decided that she would honor Qiuling's choice and grant Qiuling her wish. "All right. I still need to make some preparations. We'll start after I get back from Imperial College tomorrow." Feng Wu had been able to transform Feng Xiaoqi into a boy with the ultimate spiritual body, and she indeed knew a way to help Qiuling. It was just that. Feng Wu said in a solemn tone, "But you have to be sure about this, for there's a 50% chance that it could kill you." Qiuling nodded decisively. Feng Wu added, "Moreover, after you've obtained the ultimate Yin body, you won't be able to have babies anymore. You'll probably never get married like other women do, and cultivation and the sword are going to be all that there is for you." Qiuling said, "I'll take that." Qiuling had a gentle soul, but once she made up her mind, she would stick to it, just like when she had decided to stay with Feng Wu 5 years ago. She wouldn't leave the already crippled Feng Wu then, no matter how lucrative the offers she received. Feng Wu was speechless. The following day, Feng Wu and Qiaoge went to Imperial College together. School actually started 3 days ago, but Feng Wu had asked for leave because she had to work on the Tai formation. As always, Qiaoge stayed with Feng Wu, and didn't go to school for 3 days either. Imperial College was vast in size. It took up the entire West District, which was as large as a quarter of the imperial capital. That was proof enough of the importance which the empire placed on the college. Marble columns rose so high that they seemed to touch the sky. The walls were hundreds of meters tall, and wide enough for 10 horses to run shoulder to shoulder on top of it. People looked like ants in contrast when they stood by the wall. This wasn't the first time that Feng Wu and Qiaoge were visiting Imperial College. The last time they were here, they had fought Feng Sang right here in the courtyard. Today, however, all was quiet. It made sense, for everyone should be in class at the moment. "Where are the Year 1 classrooms?" Feng Wu and Qiaoge exchanged looks of bewilderment. Qiaoge said, "Well, I remember where the principal's office is. Shall we go ask him?" Feng Wu was speechless. Although Grandpa Feng was the acting principal now, wasn't it a bit over the top to go to him just to ask for directions? Feng Wu looked around. Someone was bound to skip class at some point, she was sure of it. She was right. Searching the area with her spiritual essence, Feng Wu soon detected the sound of breathing behind some rocks. Walking quietly toward the spot, Feng Wu reached out and pulled a boy out of hiding. It's you." The boy had gotten out of his class with the excuse of doing some cultivation, but was in fact taking a nap. The last thing he expected was to be caught red-handed. He jumped, opened his eyes, and saw a stunning beauty. "Why, you're Feng Wu," the teenager cried out, flushing with excitement. Feng Wu said, you know who I am. The teenager slapped his thigh. How can I not know who you are? You're famous. Many people have been talking about what you did to His Royal Highness. 1002 Billboard of Newbies. The teenager covered his mouth when he saw the murderous look in Feng Wu's eyes and looked all innocent. I don't know anything. You didn't hear a word from me. Feng Wu glanced at him. Cut the crap. Where are the classrooms for Year 1 students? Year 1. Feng Wu was finally here, and she was a Year 1 student now. The teenager's eyes flickered, which indicated that he was ready for some gossip. He rose to his feet with a grin, patted the dust off his clothes, and said to Feng Wu, "Follow me. I'll show you the way." Feng Wu couldn't help but give him another look. Was it her, or was the guy gloating? Was she overthinking it? What's your name? Feng Wu asked in passing. Hang Yang, that's my name, said the teenager. I got in last year, and you're only a newbie. It doesn't matter how famous you are outside, you still have to address me as senior brother. For what? Before Feng Wu said anything, Chaoga cut the guy short in a cold voice. She found his grin too smarmy and his manner too slovenly. In a word, she didn't like him at all. Hang Yang said happily, because of the rankings, of course. He then glanced at Feng Wu. I know. You've gotten your ability back and you have spiritual essence now, but it hasn't been long and cultivation can't be rushed. Plus, who can say for sure that you're still the genius you once were? Maybe you're just as ordinary as everyone else. Resting her hands on her waist, Chaoga snorted. Xiao Wu was first in both the written exam and the physical tryout, and you call her ordinary. Are you blind or idiotic? Hang Yang wanted to retort, but all words failed him. Because that was the truth. Feng Wu had indeed gotten first in both exams, which was unprecedented. And she got full marks in both exams, too. However, come with me. Hang Yang smirked and led the way in a disgruntled manner. Chaoga was bewildered. Why is he mad? Feng Wu was equally baffled. You got me. Chaoga said, I can beat the crap out of him with one slap and he wants you to call him senior brother? In his dreams. And Chaoga didn't try to keep her voice down. Vexed, Hang Yang almost tripped. So what if Feng Wu got full marks in the physical tryout? Everyone knew that she was only able to light up all 7 stars because she got lucky and received help from His Royal Highness. She just took the credit for it. It was a big school, and it took them 15 minutes to get to wherever they were going, even when they walked very fast. Hang Yang led them to the square in the Year 1 quarter. In the center of the square stood a giant stone tablet. Numerous names had been carved into the tablet in red. The first one was none other than Si Yuan. Feng Wu remembered that name. He was the president of Year 1 and very popular among the students. Feng Sang had a secret crush on the guy. Hang Yang gloated. This is the Year 1 billboard. Do you see your names up there? Feng Wu and Chaoga started to look for their names from the top down, which amused Hang Yang. Ha ha ha, you're so silly. Searching through the list is only going to be a waste of your time. The list contains both seniors and newbies. Feng Wu asked, seniors and newbies? Hang Yang cried out, seriously? Feng Wu, you don't know what seniors and newbies are. Feng Wu glanced at Hang Yang in bewilderment. Chapter 1003 Feng Wu is here. Hang Yang found their ignorance unbelievable. You know Imperial College takes in exactly 100 new students every year, right? Feng Wu and Chaoga nodded in unison. Hang Yang couldn't stop boasting about his knowledge in front of the 2 newbies. However, there's so much to learn, and it's virtually impossible to master everything in 1 year. Normally, it takes at least 10 years for a student to complete all the courses. As a result, student numbers keep increasing in year 1, and there are at least thousands of students in each year. Han Yang went on. Therefore, the newly admitted students are known as newbies, and the ones from previous years are seniors. He said arrogantly, "You newbies have only just gotten in, how capable can you be? There are 1,000 names on this tablet, and most of you people are in the last 100. Feng Wu looked at the end of the list and saw that most of the new students were indeed there. But not Xianyuan Yi and Gong Sun Qing. Han Yang glanced at them. There are a few good ones among the newbies this year. Yu Minji, needless to say, is one of them, but he didn't show up for the entrance test. If he did, he would have made it to the top. There's no doubt about that." Han Yang sounded confused when he said, "I've been wondering, though, Yu Minji is way overqualified for the entrance test. Hell, he's capable enough to be a graduate from the college already. Why did he have to get in as a newbie? I don't understand it." Feng Wu rubbed her nose and kept silent. Han Yang snorted when he didn't receive a reply from Feng Wu. There are other good ones among the newbies. Look, Gong Sun Qing is the 500th and Xianyuan Yi is even more impressive. He's the 300th. Han Yang glanced at Feng Wu. Whereas you didn't show up for the test. Afraid, are we? Chaoga flared up right away. Hey! Watch your mouth. Don't make me punch you in the face. Chaoga looked so fierce that Han Yang didn't dare mess with her. He rubbed his nose. That didn't come from me. All the other students are talking about it. No one's convinced by your exam results. Chaoga smirked. Xiao Wu is the best. No newbie could do what Xiao Wu had done. They could never have built a Tai formation capable of withstanding the 9 cycles of the lightning tribulation. Not to mention that it was a lightning tribulation meant for some great master like Grand Secretary Fang. It was such a big deal. But now, people were laughing at Feng Wu. Chaoga couldn't stand it. Chaoga wanted to beat Han Yang up, but Feng Wu stopped her with a wry smile. Don't bother arguing with him. It's not worth it. These people know nothing. Chaoga stomped her foot in frustration. Yes. They know nothing. But we do. So, don't be mad. Feng Wu patted Chaoga on the shoulder to calm her down. Han Yang glanced at Feng Wu. He was convinced that her magnanimity was rooted in her guilty conscience. Otherwise, why didn't she show up 3 days ago for the test? Feng Wu turned to Han Yang. Let's go. Show us to the registration office. Feng Wu and Chaoga were here to register, for that was the first thing to do after getting into Imperial College. And that suited Han Yang's plan. He was looking forward to Feng Wu's reaction to all the whispers and prattle. The year 1 quarter. Breaking news. Breaking news. A new student rushed into the area in great excitement. Feng Wu's here. I saw her checking the billboard just then and she didn't look happy. She's coming this way. Feng Wu. That was a name full of controversy and mystery. Chapter 1004 I don't want to hear that name ever again. The mention of Feng Wu's name was like a spell, and the carefree atmosphere in the classroom vanished. Everyone was excited. All the students in this classroom were new students this year, and there should be 100 of them in total. But right now, there were only over 90 people here. That was because Feng Wu and Chaoga weren't here, and neither were Yu Minji or Mu Yaoyao. Yu Minji had his own errands to run, whereas Mu Yaoyao. She didn't dare show up, for she had lost the bet, and was afraid that Feng Wu would ask for her head. But there were enough people here to fill the room. Yao Hao, Mu Yaoyao's minion, was the first to cry out. Yaoing didn't get in, but Yao Hao had gotten just enough marks to be admitted. What? Feng Wu's here. How dare she? Isn't she ashamed? She's unbelievable. Furious and jealous voices resonated in the classroom. Of course, Feng Wu had her supporters, too, such as Gong Sun Qing and Shi Xian. Before, in proud Snowfield, Gong Sun Qing had thought that she was going to die, but Feng Wu saved her life. As a result, Gong Sun Qing now had complicated feelings toward Feng Wu. Shi Xian, on the other end, had turned 180 degrees in her opinion, and was vexed when she heard these people slandering Feng Wu. These jealous women. They were saying all these things because they had seen Feng Wu kiss His Royal Highness. How pathetic. However, she was one of the few who could think clearly, and the majority of the students still held grudges against Feng Wu. Therefore, Feng Wu entered the classroom to find everyone staring at her in jealousy and rage. Feng Wu was at a loss. Sensing the antagonism in the air, Han Yang was elated. Right, there you are. My mission is accomplished, and I'll leave you here. He promptly left after that. He had to get back to the seniors' quarter and spread the news. The newbies' quarter was a semi-enclosed area with a nice name, Blue Cloud Court. It was derived from a line in a poem, fly over the blue clouds to gather the sun and the moon and pour out the East Sea to wash the universe clean. Hence, the newbies' quarter was called Blue Cloud Court and the seniors' Universe Court. Han Yang shouted at the top of his lungs as soon as he set foot in Universe Court, Feng Wu is here in Blue Cloud Court. Let's go, people. Fame was a two-edged sword. Although Feng Wu hadn't made it into Universe Court yet, everyone had heard about what she did, especially to His Royal Highness. A lot of girls had been cursing her under their breaths. Therefore, the seniors in Universe Court stirred when they heard that Feng Wu had arrived at Blue Cloud Court. Feng Sang, isn't that Feng Wu from your clan? Feng Sang, the third daughter of the Feng clan, was one of the seniors. Right now, she was doing her best to pretend that she was immersed in her reading, but people just wouldn't stop reminding her. Feng Sang's face darkened. Guan Jing and Tao Yu were Feng Sang's best friends, and they sat down on either side of her, bombarding her with questions. Guan Jing said, Sang, Feng Wu is here. Has she really gotten her ability back? Feng Sang didn't like that question at all. Tao Yu asked, Sang, is Feng Wu going to be alright? Isn't His Royal Highness going to punish her for what she did? Feng Wu. Everyone just wouldn't shut up about that name. It was so annoying. Recalling how miserable Feng Wu had made her own family, especially her father, who had been beaten up by Feng Wu's mother. Feng Sang's face turned green. Don't ask me. Feng Sang said with a livid face. I don't want to hear that name ever again. Chapter 1005 Expel Her. After that, Feng Sang stormed out of the classroom with her books. The others eyed one another in amazement. How amazing! That Feng Wu was able to upset Feng Sang like this. Feng Sang's name was quite high up on the stone tablet. Since they couldn't get anything from Feng Sang, the students decided to go have a look in Blue Cloud Court. It was considered the newbies' honor to be visited by seniors. Blue Cloud Court. The boisterous classroom quieted down as soon as Feng Wu walked in. Regardless of their unspoken criticism, the students were genuinely intimidated by her performance in Proud Snowfield. But some were still bold enough. For instance, Miss Huiyin. Feng Wu, I thought you had been scared off. What? Now that the test is over, you're bold enough to show up at school. Feng Wu followed the voice and spotted Huiyin. Huiyin was Yi Yifei's friend, but the latter didn't even dare show up in front of Feng Wu, for she had lost that bet, too. Huiyin rose to her feet, and with that, many girls also grew aggressive. Look, everyone, here's Feng Wu. She's first in both exams this year, but she didn't show up to get her cultivation level tested. We all know that she only got first in the physical tryout because of His Royal Highness. That's right. We all saw it. She didn't have one single star before that. She cast the badly injured crown prince aside and only cared about absorbing the spiritual essence for herself. I can't believe it. I'm telling you, she's obviously selfish. I can't imagine how scheming she can be. Watch out, everyone. Don't walk into her trap. Most of the accusations came from the girls. They hated Feng Wu for that kiss she gave Jun Linyuan before the physical tryout finished. Some also stood up for Feng Wu, such as Shi Xian. She had switched to Feng Wu's side after what happened in Proud Snowfield. Are you people blind? What do you mean she was only able to do it because of His Royal Highness? You've all seen the replay of the footage. Shi Xian was furious. Feng Wu saved His Royal Highness during the fall. You're confusing right and wrong. But people only smirked at her. She saved His Royal Highness. Can she say that she didn't take advantage of him? She has no shame. How dare she even show up? Yao Hao snorted. However, before he could say another word. Thump. Chaoga struck. She charged at Yao Hao and kicked him in the face. Before he could react, Chaoga grabbed him by the collar and lifted him off the ground. Thud. She tossed him right into a flower bed, smashing a lot of pots. Poor Yao Hao. He had finally cultivated a bit of fame among the newbies, but Chaoga had crushed it just like that. He was utterly humiliated. A hush fell over the crowd. Fighting among students was forbidden in Imperial College, and Chaoga had just broken the rule. It took a moment for someone to realize that. Oh God, Feng Wu's friend is beating another student up. That's against regulations. She should be expelled. Kick her out. Instantly, the crowd grew excited. Yao Hao and Hua Yin exchanged looks, and both grinned maliciously. They had made such a scene just to set Feng Wu up, for she wasn't familiar with the school regulations yet. 1006 Feng Wu the Murderer 1. Mu Yao Yao and Yi Yifei, the masterminds behind these two, were hiding in their respective homes because of their earlier bets with Feng Wu. They didn't dare show up at school. That was why Yao Hao and Hua Yin had tried to make a scene. They wanted to provoke Feng Wu. However, Duan Chaoga jumped out first. They could live with that. Removing Duan Chaoga would be like cutting off one of Feng Wu's arms. That was a pretty nice down payment. Since Chaoga had taken the bait, Yao Hao would make sure that she wouldn't get off the hook easily. Wretch! Yao Hao scrambled out of the flower bed, covered in blood. He had deliberately dressed himself in white today, so that the effect would be exceptionally shocking when his clothes were stained with blood. And he even punched himself in the chest. Wretch! He spat out another mouthful of blood, which had some clots in it. Someone cried out in surprise, "Oh God, Yao Hao's heart has been shattered." He spat pieces of it out. Feng Wu wanted to roll her eyes at them. Even if that was the case, the pieces wouldn't come out of his stomach, thank you. Feng Wu glanced at Hua Yin. She was the one crying out. However, she was able to fool a lot of people. People believed that what they saw was Duan Chaoga taking advantage of her power to bully her fellow classmate. No, she was trying to kill him. Help! Feng Wu is killing people here. Feng Wu is killing a classmate. The news got out of Blue Cloud Court, and by the time it reached Universe Court, it had become a different story. What? Feng Wu had killed someone. Feng Sang, who hadn't gone very far, was thrilled to hear the news. She turned around and headed for Blue Cloud Court. The other students were equally excited. Onlookers always looked forward to more breaking news. Feng Wu's every move was already being scrutinized, but she was still bold enough to kill on campus in broad daylight. That was unbelievable. They had to see this. Nearly all the students of Universe Court rushed that way. Blue Cloud Court. After tossing the guy into the flower bed, Chaoga patted her hands in satisfaction. But to her surprise, Yao Hao looked as if he was dying, with all his trembling and moaning. What a poser! Infuriated, Chaoga raised a foot to Yao Hao's chest. Everyone stared at Duan Chaoga in amazement. How dare she? Everyone turned in Feng Wu's direction. All Feng Wu had to do was say the word, and Chaoga would stop. As a matter of fact, she did speak. She said, aim 10 centimeters lower. Stomping on his heart would kill him, but kicking him in the belly wouldn't. Thud. Chaoga's foot landed right on Yao Hao's stomach. Ouch! That hurt. Yao Hao curled up like a cooked shrimp, and he stared at Chaoga in bafflement. And he wasn't the only one. Everyone else was staring at Chaoga in disbelief as well. That was so arrogant of her. She had done it in front of everyone. I can't believe this. Who the hell does she think she is? Are they killing Yao Hao? However, Chaoga didn't seem to hear them. All she could think of were the awful things Yao Hao had said about Feng Wu. Quit acting and get up. This is what you get for cursing Xiao Wu. Then, Chaoga raised her foot again. Just then, a figure showed up and grabbed Chaoga by the shoulder. Chaoga looked over her shoulder to find a familiar face. It was Lei Kai, one of Xian Yuanyi's minions. Duan Chaoga, that's enough. Lei Kai wanted to throw Chaoga out. Chapter 1007 Feng Wu the Murderer 2. Chaoga smirked. Hands off me. Duan Chaoga was the kind that would always fight back right away. The next second, she was throwing punches at Lei Kai. The sound of fists hitting flesh resounded in the air. Both moved at a tremendous speed. In a matter of seconds, they had struck out dozens of times. Thud. In the end, Chaoga punched Lei Kai in the face. Everyone stared at Chaoga in disbelief. That was incredible. Because Imperial College took in students every year, most of the Year 1 students were of similar cultivation levels. The newbies this year, for instance, were mostly Level 1 and Level 2 spiritual grandmasters. Lei Kai, a Level 3 spiritual grandmaster, was one of the better ones. However, he had just been defeated by Duan Chaoga. That surprised everyone. After the test 3 days ago, Lei Kai was ranked 893 among the 1,000 on the stone tablet. Lei Kai glared at Chaoga. I see why you're so arrogant now. Bring it on. With those words, Lei Kai charged at Chaoga again. Chaoga had made some great progress in the past few days. When Feng Wu was busy building the Tai formation, Chaoga had been cultivating. Feng Wu had kept Chaoga in mind all the time. When her beautiful master gave Grand Secretary Fang that free and easy wandering manual, Feng Wu had also asked for a manual for Chaoga as well. Her beautiful master was excellent in figuring out one's cultivation needs. With one look, he knew what manual would suit Chaoga the most. Feng Wu knew how to make a request, and of course, her master had to grant her wish. The manual Feng Wu got for Chaoga was called Homage to Phoenix. With its help, Chaoga's cultivation level had risen significantly. Hence, Lei Kai wasn't Chaoga's match at all. Thud. Chaoga raised her hand, and there was a golden flash. Roar. Lei Kai, who had believed that he would win for sure, flew backward with an angry roar. Thud. He fell to the ground with a thump. Everyone stared at Duan Chaoga in disbelief. Everyone had thought it an accident when Lei Kai was struck down the first time. But now that Lei Kai lay unconscious on the ground and couldn't even stand up. It was no accident. Lei Kai had been defeated. OMG. Oh my god. How did that happen? Everyone began to shout different things. They couldn't believe this. And Hua Yin was the most surprised of them all. It had seemed only yesterday when Yi Yefei and the others bullied Duan Chaoga during the physical tryout. Duan Chaoga had been a mere level 5 spiritual master then. How long had it been? It had only been half a month, and she was a different person now. She was more powerful than Lei Kai now. Hua Yin couldn't believe it. She shook her head in disbelief. But that was the reality. Duan Chaoga smirked. You think you can stop me? In your dreams. After that, she made to kick Lei Kai again. These people had said bad things about Xiao Wu, she would thrash them until they shut up. Chaoga was on fire. However, just then there was a cold voice. Kneel and apologize. Then, I might consider sparing your life. The voice was cold, distant, and cruel. It gave one the creeps. Everyone turned around. They saw a young man with long black hair step out of the crowd and walk into the clearing. "1008 Wu the Murderer 3. Xianyuan Yi. It's Xianyuan Yi. He's one of the top 500 Year 1 students." The crowd stirred in excitement. Brother, Lei Kai clutched his stomach and struggled to his feet. He then wiped blood off his mouth. Xianyuan Yi looked from Lei Kai to Chaoga, and his eyes flickered. Kneel and beg for mercy. Feng Wu narrowed his eyes. The guy had some balls. Chaoga stared at Xianyuan Yi, then smirked. On my knees. You wish. Then go to hell. Xianyuan Yi raised his right fist. Golden light flashed and his fist glowed. Boom. He then charged at Duan Chaoga with his fist out at full speed. Chaoga frowned a little. She wouldn't have been able to dodge the attack a few days ago, but she had learned a great deal from Homage to Phoenix. Now, she was able to evade the strike with a quick shift in position. Xianyuan Yi's face darkened. That was supposed to be a killing move, but it didn't have any effect. Xianyuan Yi had been confident that Duan Chaoga wasn't his match, and he thought that one strike would be enough to take her out. To his surprise, Duan Chaoga evaded his attack. Interesting. Xianyuan Yi smirked. He had never been disrespected like this before. Bone-melting strike. Xianyuan Yi went rampant. That was Xianyuan Yi's ultimate killing move and his final card. He had never expected to use it on Duan Chaoga one day. He had to admit that Duan Chaoga was really something. By then, not only the newbies, but seniors from Universe Court had also gathered round. And the looks on their faces had changed when they saw Xianyuan Yi's earlier move. That was awesome. Did you see that strike? He must have already reached perfection as a level 4 spiritual grandmaster. If you ask me, he's a level 5 already. Does this mean that he's good enough to be ranked in the top 300? Xianyuan Yi is so awesome. I bet he can make it into the top 200. Duan Chaoga is so dead. In fact, Chaoga had a bad feeling as well. The attack was so frightening and gave her the impression of a tidal wave. The earth was shaking, and so was her soul. She wasn't his match. Knowing that Feng Wu was much more capable than she was, Chaoga ran toward the ladder involuntarily. The moment before the fist struck down, Feng Wu gave Chaoga a tug. Thud. And Chaoga was able to evade the fist just in time. Feng Wu had pulled her out of the way. As a result, the fist landed on the wall behind them. Thud. Cracks spread out on the wall like a spider web, but the wall repaired itself almost immediately as everyone watched. It was intact again in a split second. Still shaken by the narrow escape, Chaoga held Feng Wu's hand and gasped. She would have been killed if it wasn't for Feng Wu. Xianyuan Yi, on the other hand, opened his eyes wide in disbelief. That was impossible. Bone-melting strike was his ultimate move, and someone like Chaoga should never have been able to dodge. He was sure that he had locked onto his target. What was so special about that girl? Even someone so capable hadn't noticed that Chaoga had only been able to evade his attack because Feng Wu had dragged her out of the way. Because no one was paying attention to Feng Wu as all eyes were on Chaoga. That girl was amazing. That was what everyone was thinking about Chaoga now. Xianyuan Yi wouldn't let it drop. He smirked and was about to attack again, but, stop. "1009 Feng Wu the Murderer 4. a teacher finally showed up. Miss Qiao Yi. The newbies greeted their teacher with great respect. Feng Wu looked in Qiao Yi's direction. And she recognized her face. When Feng Wu went to get her exam permit approved before the exam started, she had seen a few teachers in the office, and Qiao Yi had been one of them. And she had been very unfriendly toward Feng Wu even then. She was the snobbish type and she didn't even try to hide it. As expected, the first person Qiao Yi turned to was Xianyuan Yi, and she sighed in relief when she saw that he wasn't injured. She then turned to look at Feng Wu. And Qiao Yi's first reaction was to frown at Feng Wu. What happened? Qiao Yi stared at Feng Wu with an accusing look in her eyes. She came to the conclusion right away that Feng Wu had done something wrong. Hua Yin reacted quickly and replied in a hurry, Feng Wu and Duan Chaoge were outrageous. Yao Hao only asked them why they didn't show up for 3 days, and if they were afraid of taking the test, but they got angry and beat Yao Hao up. Qiao Yi turned to look at Yao Hao. Poor boy. It had started off as an act, but he did end up getting his ass kicked by Chaoge. His face was covered in bruises. And there's Lei Kai. All he did was speak up for Yao Hao, and they beat him until he vomited blood. Hua Yin said loudly. Qiao Yi then turned to Lei Kai, who still had blood on his mouth and could barely stand on his feet. Her face darkened. That explained why Xianyuan Yi was involved in the fight. Lei Kai was his buddy. Qiao Yi turned her sharp gaze on Feng Wu. Feng Wu, do you have anything to say about this? Qiao Yi glared at Feng Wu. However, Chaoge stepped out before Feng Wu could say anything. Xiao Wu has nothing to do with this. I beat these people up. I'll answer your questions. Qiao Yi narrowed her eyes. Was Duan Chaoge that capable now? You lot, follow me. Qiao Yi turned to leave. These students all had some connections, and this would be a delicate matter. However, Xianyuan Yi said in a casual tone, Miss Qiao Yi, I'm going home now. He then turned in the other direction. It was as if he didn't hear Qiao Yi at all. Xianyuan Yi was a direct descendant of the Xianyuan clan, and his grandfather was one of the 7 bosses of Imperial College. Qiao Yi had no choice but to put up with this arrogant teenager. Not only did she have to put up with him, she even had to smile at him. Of course. Go home and get some rest. Come back when you feel better. Xianyuan Yi left before Qiao Yi could finish talking. He looked as proud as a peacock. When Qiao Yi turned back to Feng Wu and the others, her manner changed completely. The smile was gone, replaced by a furious look. Especially when it was directed at Feng Wu. Get over here. However, Feng Wu was never the tolerant type. If Xianyuan Yi could leave, why couldn't she? Feng Wu smiled. Xianyuan Yi hit Chaoge. If he can leave, why can't we? After that, Feng Wu patted Chaoge. Let's go. How dare you, Feng Wu? Qiao Yi flared up. 1010 Feng Wu the Murderer 5. Qiao Yi could live with an unruly Xianyuan Yi, for the guy's grandfather was one of the 7 bosses of the college, which made him a prince among the students. But Feng Wu. What did she have? Well, watch me. Feng Wu smiled at Qiao Yi, not the least bit intimidated by the teacher. You. Qiao Yi was so furious that she trembled from head to toe, and her face was so twisted that her eyes popped out. She raised a hand to slap Feng Wu. However, before her hand came down, Chaoge bumped into her like an angry calf, throwing Qiao Yi off balance. Resting her hands on her waist, Chaoge bellowed, How dare you hit Xiao Wu? You're so dead. Most of the newbies were level 1 and level 2 spiritual grandmasters, and as a level 5 spiritual grandmaster, Qiao Yi was more than capable of handling them. However, there were too many abnormalities with the new students this year. First of all, there was the super genius Yu Minji. Luckily, he wasn't here today. Then there was Xianyuan Yi, who was a level 4, almost level 5, spiritual grandmaster. And with his connections, Xiao Yi could only let him do whatever he wanted. But now, there was Duan Chaoga, the uncontrollable factor. How dare you hit a teacher? Xiao Yi was almost in tears. Having taught here for so many years, she had never been treated like this. The girl had just bumped into her shoulder, but it was still numb from the pain. Chaoga was the reckless type, and when she needed to protect Feng Wu, she didn't care who she was dealing with. You wanted to hit Xiao Wu. You deserved it. Try it again and I'll slap you in the face. That was bold. And so domineering. Everyone was staring at Duan Chaoga in reverence. If they had some grudges against Chaoga earlier, they no longer did, for Chaoga was bold enough to confront Xiao Yi. They had seen it, too. They could tell how blatantly snobbish Xiao Yi was. That was why they were so excited to see Chaoga and Feng Wu challenge Xiao Yi. But Xiao Yi was fuming. She ranted like a mad person when she saw Feng Wu and Chaoga try to leave. Leave here and you'll be expelled. Both of you. Feng Wu only smiled. I see you've got a lot of power here, Miss Qiao. You've replaced the principal, have you, since you can expel students and all? The crowd burst into laughter. But they knew deep down that Feng Wu and Chaoga were doomed. Xiao Yi had her connections, too, although they weren't as powerful as Xianyuan Yi's. Take them down. Just then, the school guards showed up. Xiao Yi didn't dare handle Chaoga herself now, for it would be so humiliating if she failed. The guards approached the two girls with solemn looks on their faces. Chaoga raised a hand, but Feng Wu shook her head at her. Exchanging blows with fellow students was one thing, but fighting the school guards would be seen as defying the college outright. Getting expelled wouldn't mean much to Feng Wu under normal circumstances, but the last time she met Jun Linyuan, he had told her that the second broken star piece was here in Imperial College. So that she wasn't going anywhere until she got that piece. 1011 Feng Wu the Murderer 6. Let's go. Feng Wu tugged at Chaoga. Given how stubborn Chaoga was, she wouldn't listen to anyone but Feng Wu. She followed Feng Wu in a cheerful mood, not the least bit worried about the possibility that she might be expelled. Feng Wu, Chaoga, Yao Hao, and Lei Kai followed Xiao Yi out of the classroom. Feng Wu looked into the distance at Xianyuan Yi, who had almost walked out of sight. He had nearly wounded Chaoga, and he thought he could walk away just like that. Feng Wu smirked. The classroom remained boisterous after Feng Wu and the others left. The newbies and the seniors usually didn't mingle and were segregated. At the moment, however, they crowded together in animated discussion. That was incredible. That Feng Wu was bold enough to challenge Miss Qiao Yi. Does she know who Qiao Yi's father is? Mr. Qiao is the head of the Year 2 teachers. Does she want to stay in Year 1 forever? I think it's safe to say that Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga will both be expelled this time, and they'll never get the chance to proceed to Year 2. They won't have to deal with Mr. Qiao after that. Feng Sang and her friends smiled. Sang, Feng Wu is going to be expelled. Ha ha ha. We won't have to see her ever again. Guan Jing and her friends were thrilled. However, several boys standing next to them smiled bitterly. If Feng Wu were here, she would recognize them right away, for they were Jin Yuntao, Yuan Ming, and Yi Zhou. The three of them had met Feng Wu for the first time in World Tower. Jin Yuntao had spoken up for Feng Wu, which had earned him a reward of some top-grade spiritual stones. And that had been a gift from World Tower. On the other hand, those who had opposed Feng Wu, be it the well-connected Mu Yao Yao or the privileged royal princess, had been punished accordingly. Jin Yuntao knew there and then that Feng Wu was more than an acquaintance of His Royal Highness. Therefore, after hearing everything people had been saying about Feng Wu and the way Miss Qiao Yi treated her, he had an idea. Should he try something? At that thought, Jin Yuntao headed for the door. Where are you going? Yuan Ming and Yi Zhou ran out after him. Jin Yuntao went to World Tower. The quickest way to deliver the message was to go to the Crown Prince's residence. However, he was too unimportant to even walk through the front door. That was why Jin Yuntao went to World Tower, where he ran into the one-armed Yan Yu. Other people might not think much of the message delivered by Jin Yuntao, but Yan Yu thought otherwise. She had learned the hard way. She had ignored Feng Wu's influence with Jun Linyuan last time, and had ended up losing an arm. After hearing what Jin Yuntao had to say, she showed him to her master immediately. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and the other three were being taken to the office of the head teacher. Xiao Yi was seething with anger. She had been offended, physically abused, and threatened in public. Very well. She wouldn't rest until Feng Wu and Duan Chaoge were expelled. What happened? Seeing the furious Xiao Yi, Yu Yu, the head teacher of Year 1, frowned. She then saw the 4 students behind Xiao Yi. Both boys had cuts and bruises on their faces and looked like wrecks. The 2 girls, on the other hand, were tidy and poised, without a scratch on them. Yu Yu couldn't help but give Feng Wu another look, for she recognized the latter. She was the girl who had come to have her exam permit stamped. Chief Yu. I can't handle the new students this year. I want to resign from my post. No one saw that coming. Chapter 10-12 I have no connections. Says who? Resign? Yu Yu stared at Xiao Yi. But why? Xiao Yi glared at Feng Wu and Chaoge so fiercely that she could have torn them to pieces with her eyes. There. You're a grown-up. Why so grumpy? Yu Yu tried to calm her down. Chief Yu, do you know what they did? Xiao Yi complained to Chief Yu and told the latter what happened. You know what that Duan Chaoge did? She hit a teacher. I can't believe this. Ms. Yu frowned. The other teachers in the room looked displeased as well. As fellow teachers, they naturally took Xiao Yi's side. Because they were thinking a little further ahead. If the students weren't properly disciplined this time, it could set a bad example for potential offenses in the future. What if other students started to challenge their teachers? Abominable. Mr. Gu frowned and said angrily, unruly students like her are of no use here. She won't follow her teacher's instructions. What kind of place does she think Imperial College is? This kind of behavior won't be tolerated. Mr. Hu shook his head, a cup of tea in his hand. Unbelievable. Kids nowadays are unbelievable. They're out of control. Xiao Yi said between broken sobs, I know I'm new here, but that doesn't mean I deserve this. Chief Yu, if you won't do anything about this, I'll go to Mr. Fang. I'd like to see what he has to say about this. By Mr. Fang, Xiao Yi was referring to Grand Secretary Fang. Ms. Yu was perplexed. She knew more than Xiao Yi did. Feng Wu had been absent for 3 days, and Grand Secretary Fang had asked for leave on her behalf. He had contacted Ms. Yu himself. What did that mean? Feng Wu was well acquainted with Grand Secretary Fang. Chief Yu, aren't you going to say something? Xiao Yi stared at Ms. Yu. Feng Wu and Chaoge had to go. Ms. Yu glanced at Xiao Yi, then smiled at Feng Wu and said in a gentle voice, Feng Wu, what's your side of the story? Feng Wu smiled. We're still missing a person. I'll wait. Missing a person? Ms. Yu looked at Xiao Yi in bewilderment. Xiao Yi sneered at Feng Wu with flushed cheeks. Xianyuan Yi was only trying to help, because he saw injustice. He's too busy with his cultivation to be tangled up in this nonsense. Xiao Yi then turned to Ms. Yu. All Xianyuan Yi did was help Lei Kai. He was busy, so I gave him permission to leave. Ms. Yu frowned. The difference in treatment was so obvious. Feng Wu smiled. I see. Xianyuan Yi took part in the fight, but he could leave freely. I didn't even lift a finger and Miss Qiao here is trying to get me expelled. How incredible. Qiao Yi smirked. That boy had connections and Feng Wu didn't. What more did she expect? But Qiao Yi couldn't say that out loud. She sneered at Feng Wu. Xianyuan Yi is already in the top 300 on the billboard. What about you? How dare you ask for equal treatment? So, Imperial College is a school that only considers martial prowess. Facts don't matter here. Feng Wu pressed, are you saying that if I'm first on that billboard, I can beat up anyone I like? Chapter 10:13 A Fatal Injury. First on the billboard? Qiao Yi snorted. That's a bold statement, given the fact that you didn't even show up for the test. How arrogant of you. Seeing that the two of them were lashing out at each other, Miss Yu intervened. She cast a stern look at Qiao Yi. You're a grown-up, so behave like one in front of your students. Qiao Yi opened her mouth. But Ms. Yu ignored her and turned to Feng Wu. So, what are you going to do? Looking around the office, Feng Wu found an empty chair. She pulled it to her side, sat down readily, and said in an unhurried tone, nothing. I won't let it drop until Xianyuan Yi is here. Excuse me. Qiao Yi was already disgruntled when Feng Wu took the chair, which in fact belonged to her. The girl's statement completely set her off. You won't let it drop until Xianyuan Yi is here? Qiao Yi sneered at Feng Wu. Humor me. Feng Wu only smiled at her and remained unperturbed. Yu had no choice but to ask around. Before long, she was able to put together what happened. And she frowned. It was now between a student under Grand Secretary Fang's wing and a family member of Elder Xianyuan. What a difficult choice to make. She had to be diplomatic and try to defuse the spat before it got worse. Yu glanced at Qiao Yi. It was a light altercation between students. Surely it wasn't anything worth expelling them over. Yao Hao had been studying Yu's face, and he didn't like what he saw. The teacher was obviously on Feng Wu's side. He had to look more severely injured, otherwise, wretch. Yao Hao had been trembling, but now, he fell to the ground and began to vomit blood. He spat out a mouthful of blood, which stained the lower hem of Yu's skirt. With a shaking hand, he grabbed a corner of Yu's skirt and squeezed out some pleading words. Ms. Help, will the school get even for me? Yao Hao passed out after that. Yao Hao. Qiao Yi was thrilled to see Yao Hao pass out. She rushed over to him and put a trembling finger under his nose. She jolted. Oh, no. Yao Hao isn't breathing. Yao Hao's dead. The news flew out of the office as if it had wings, and it quickly spread to the Year 1 quarter. Year 1 and Year 2 had classrooms in separate locations, and the two groups had very limited contact. Nearly all the Year 1 students had gathered in Blue Cloud Court in animated discussion, trying to figure out what kind of punishment Feng Wu and Chaoge would receive. However, he's really dead. Wasn't Yao Hao walking around just then? How can he be dead all of a sudden? Duan Chaoge kicked him in all his vital parts. I bet that's what killed him. The atmosphere in Blue Cloud Court was filled with anxiety. Mu Yao Yao and Yi Yifei, who had been hiding in the dark, let out breaths of relief. Finally, things were looking up for them. Let's go. Mu Yao Yao and Yi Yifei headed for the head teacher's office with their arms linked together. Feng Wu, you're dead. Feng Wu didn't expect to run into so much trouble when she arrived at Imperial College this morning to register. With everything that had happened, she was displeased. Chapter 10:14 Xiao Wu, I didn't kill him. However, she still managed to put on an indifferent smile, despite her reluctance. At that moment, everyone was concerned about Yao Hao's condition. After all, the accident took place in Imperial College, and the school would have to take responsibility for the consequences. Yu cried out, go get a doctor. Get Master Duanmu here. Mr. Gu jumped to his feet. I'll go get him. Yao Hao was still vomiting blood, and they didn't dare move him. Mr. Gu rushed out of the office immediately. He only realized after a moment that he had a communication jade on him. Smacking his forehead, he took it out and called Master Duanmu's assistant. Someone as prominent as Master Duanmu would be too proud to talk directly to a common teacher like Gu Yi. Master, someone has been fatally wounded in the year 1/4, and the student is said to have stopped breathing. They need you there. The assistant was Meng Chu, a pretty girl from year 2. Master Duanmu's eyes flickered when he recalled the favor Mu Yao Yao had asked of him the day before. Mr. Fang, the current acting principal, was Mu Yao Yao's grandfather, and Master Duanmu wanted to jump on Fang's bandwagon so that he could move further up the food chain. With the help of his walking stick, he rose to his feet. Let's go. The year 1 head teacher's office. Qiao Yi was screaming, Yao Hao's dead. Yao Hao's really dead. Feng Wu. Duan Chaoge. You killed him. Hey, take them down. Don't let them run away. The school guards had been waiting outside, and they were prepared to enter the building when they heard Qiao Yi's voice. Ms. Yu cast a stern look at them. Stay where you are. Do you want to create an even bigger scene? Qiao Yi stared at Ms. Yu. But Ms. Yu, if the two of them escape, where can they possibly go? Ms. Yu rolled her eyes at Qiao Yi. The young teacher had seemed so docile before, but she had done nothing but add to the confusion here. Ms. Yu didn't take Qiao Yi's words for granted. She crouched down next to Yao Hao and examined him with her spiritual essence. It was true, his breath was undetectable and he appeared to be dead. But he was still alive, although barely. I found his pulse. We may still be able to save him if Master Duanmu gets here in time, Ms. Yu said anxiously. She looked around the room, and her gaze landed on Feng Wu. To her surprise, Feng Wu didn't look the least bit flustered or perplexed. How was that even possible? Ms. Yu stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. Her friend had practically killed a person because of her. And they would be considered murderers if Yao Hao died. According to the regulations of Imperial College, killing a fellow student was punishable by death, and what was more, they would face the most ruthless penalty. Even with Grand Secretary Fang's support, the girl shouldn't be this arrogant. Where did her confidence come from? Feng Wu sat there, perfectly calm. She even had the mood to flip through a book, as if none of this concerned her. But Duan Chaoge was uneasy. Xiao Wu, I didn't kill him. Despite her tough appearance, Chaoge was a gentle girl deep down. She bit her lower lip and whispered in Feng Wu's ear. I know. Feng Wu patted Chaoge on the shoulder. Seeing how confident Feng Wu was, Chaoge calmed down, too. Hasty footsteps came from outside at that moment. Yao Hao. Yao Hao. Are you all right? Chapter 10-15 Ups and Downs 1. Mu Yao Yao arrived with Yi Yifei, followed by another person. It was Yao Ying, whom Feng Wu had beaten up before. And she was Yao Hao's own sister. In a moment like this, Yao Hao's family member came in handy for Mu Yao Yao. Mu Yao Yao rushed toward Yao Hao with an astonished look on her face. Yao Hao. Yao Hao. Are you all right? Wake up. Mu Yao Yao cried out, knelt down, and called at the top of her lungs. Yao Ying looked devastated. Brother. Brother. Talk to me. Wake up. Please wake up. Yao Ying was trembling from head to toe and her face was streaked with tears. She looked like she was going to have a nervous breakdown. However, no matter how loudly she called, Yao Hao remained motionless, his face as bloodless as a dead person's. Mu Yao Yao bolted upright and looked indignantly at Qiao Yi. Miss Qiao Yi, what happened? Everything was fine this morning. Why is Yao Hao like this? Eyes wide open, Mu Yaoyao grabbed Xiao Yi by her shoulders and shook the latter violently. Xiao Yi almost lost her balance, but she only turned to stare at Feng Wu, and pointed her finger at the latter. It was Feng Wu and Duan Chaoge. They did this to Yao Hao. And that was what Mu Yaoyao had been waiting for. She glared at Feng Wu with her chest stuck out and her tone oh so righteous. That was right. She had planned everything. Since the bet with Feng Wu would have gotten Mu Yaoyao killed, Mu Yaoyao had set Feng Wu up to kill Yao Hao. That way, Feng Wu would have to pay with her life, and Mu Yaoyao would remain safe. That was Mu Yaoyao's plan, but she still managed to look devastated. Feng Wu. How could you do this? You killed Yao Hao. Mu Yaoyao bellowed. Yao Ying had almost passed out. Brother, brother. She rushed over to Yu Yu and wrapped her arms around the teacher's leg. Ms. Yu, say something. You can't let the murderers go free. Yu Yu felt she was getting a headache. After finally silencing that Xiao Yi, now this? Then there was Mu Yaoyao. Yu Yu found Mu Yaoyao even more troublesome, for she was the granddaughter of Mr. Fang, the acting principal. Before, Yu Yu could still side with Feng Wu, but now that the principal's granddaughter was here, Yu Yu didn't think that the old man would favor Feng Wu over his granddaughter. Just then, footsteps came from outside again. They turned around to find an old man with his young, pretty assistant. Master Duanmu. Everyone cried out in surprise. Yu Yu was delighted. Master Duanmu, thank God. Please have a look at Yao Hao. Master Duanmu looked around the room and exchanged quick looks with Mu Yaoyao. It happened so briefly that most people didn't notice it. However, Feng Wu did, for she had her eyes fixed on Mu Yaoyao the entire time. Interesting. As expected, Master Duanmu shook his head after examining Yao Hao only briefly. He had a pitiful look on his face. Master Duanmu. Yao Ying stared at the doctor. And she wasn't the only one. Almost everyone was staring at Master Duanmu. His verdict could determine the fate of several people. His internal organs have been shattered, his heart has stopped, and he's barely breathing. It's too late, said Master Duanmu in a deeply grieved tone. After giving his conclusion, he shook his head, rose to his feet, and was prepared to leave. Chapter 10:16 Ups and Downs 2. And those words were like a sudden clap of thunder in their ears. Yao Hao was really dead. Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu and Chaoge. Murderers. Arrest them. A life for a life. The clamor of everyone talking at the same time seemed to drown Feng Wu and Chaoge like a tidal wave. A team of college guards also rushed in to arrest the culprits. Chaoge blocked their way, bellowing, "What are you doing? Take me. Xiao Wu has nothing to do with this. I'll take full responsibility." How she hated these people. They just wouldn't leave Xiao Wu alone, when it was she who had beaten Yao Hao up. However, all these people, Xiao Yi and Mu Yaoyao alike, had been targeting Feng Wu all along. They couldn't care less about Chaoge. Amidst all the chaos, Xiao Yi gave an order. Arrest them both. The guards then reached out to grab Feng Wu and Chaoge. Thump. Chaoge kicked them away. What? Everyone cried out in surprise. These were the college guards, and Duan Chaoge had just confronted them openly. Did she have a death wish? Stop. Ms. Yu frowned. Here in this room, Chief Yu called the shots. She gave the order. Arrest Duan Chaoge. What about Feng Wu? Mu Yaoyao, Yi Yifei, Yao Ying, and Xiao Yi cried out in unison. Ms. Yu snapped, did you see Feng Wu do anything? Mu Yaoyao said, but... Ms. Yu waved her off. It was indeed she who started the whole thing, but it was also true that she didn't do anything. So, arrest Duan Chaoge and wait for further instructions from the college. Du Chaoge had killed a fellow student in public, and she would probably have to pay with her own life. Ms. Yu glanced at Feng Wu. That was all the help she could give Feng Wu. Unless some miracle happened now, Duan Chaoge was going to die. Mu Yaoyao wasn't reconciled to this. She had set the trap for Feng Wu, but Duan Chaoge was the one who took the bait. Mu Yaoyao clenched her fists. Well, better than nothing. The school guards rushed in and acted quickly. They surrounded Chaoge in no time. Feng Wu frowned. She had kept her silence so far, and these people just acted as if she wasn't there. Feng Wu smiled. Stop. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was authoritative and couldn't be ignored. All eyes turned in her direction. Feng Wu asked quietly, "What gives you the right to arrest Chaoge?" The school guards exchanged bewildered looks. The others stared at Feng Wu in amazement as well. Mu Yaoyao smirked. Who gave you the courage to say those words? Feng Wu, who the hell do you think you are? Feng Wu didn't answer her. To be more precise, she ignored Mu Yaoyao. Staring at Yao Hao, who was lying on the ground, Feng Wu snorted. Yao Hao isn't dead. Impossible. Mu Yaoyao and Master Duanmu cried out in unison. Especially Mu Yaoyao. She stared at Feng Wu and sneered at the latter. Master Duanmu also stared at Feng Wu. He's dead, and that's my conclusion. How can you say otherwise? Feng Wu said, he's not dead. Master Duanmu said, he is. Feng Wu said, he's not dead. Enraged, Master Duanmu ignored Feng Wu and turned to Ms. Yu instead. Why did you invite me here if you won't believe me? I'm leaving. Master Duanmu turned to leave. Ms. Yu frowned. Feng Wu. Chapter 10-17 Ups and Downs 3. Ms. Yu had been putting up with Feng Wu's nonsense until then, but the kid only repaid her with even more of a farce. Despite her usually mild temper, Ms. Yu had become vexed. Feng Wu shook her head. Chaoge didn't hit him hard. The force she used couldn't have killed anyone. Mu Yaoyao smirked inwardly. Indeed, Chaoge couldn't have, but Mu Yaoyao had her whole plan. Yao Hao had to die today. Mu Yaoyao feigned a furious tone and stared at Feng Wu. He stopped breathing. You're going to pay with your life. Feng Wu glanced at Mu Yaoyao. She was anything but stupid, and she had realized what Mu Yaoyao wanted after the latter mentioning paying with her life repeatedly. Mu Yaoyao was trying to call off that bet. As expected, Mu Yaoyao moved closer and whispered in a threatening voice. Destroy that paper with the bet on it and I may let you live. She was right. However, Feng Wu only darted a look at Mu Yaoyao. You'll beg for my forgiveness in a moment. Feng Wu was amazed by how emboldened these people were. Were they seriously trying to poison someone when she, the master of poison, was around? When she was only 5, she already knew of every poison known to man. That little red pill she had created, the laxative, was still sold widely across the Junwu Empire. Mu Yaoyao still had a lot to learn if she wanted to conceal a poison from Feng Wu. Mu Yaoyao snorted inwardly after Feng Wu rejected her offer. So, the girl would rather learn the hard way. However, Feng Wu had walked up to Yao Hao and started working on him with her pale green light. Dots of green light then seeped into his body through his forehead. Master Duanmu was astonished. What Feng Wu was doing was completely out of his expectations. Because that green light was a treatment method only practiced by supreme-level medicine refiners. In other words, this teenage girl was a supreme-level medicine refiner? That was preposterous. Master Duanmu refused to admit it. More green light flew out of Feng Wu's hands. And they covered Yao Hao's entire body. Was there going to be a miracle? Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. However, Mu Yaoyao smirked the entire time. She had planned everything out. Yao Hao had agreed to take a medicine that would make him appear dead. He could come back to life after Mu Yao Yao got the bet called off. However, Yao Hao didn't know that Mu Yao Yao hadn't told him the whole truth. Knowing what an amazing Dr. Feng Wu was, Mu Yao Yao had used a real poison on Yao Hao, which would actually kill him. That was why Mu Yao Yao was so pleased when Feng Wu tried to save Yao Hao. Yao Hao had no chance. She was right. 1 minute passed. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. Yao Hao still lay there with his eyes closed. His face was emotionless and he still wasn't breathing. It seemed that Yao Hao really was dead. Stop it. Don't touch my brother. Yao Ying rushed out and charged at Feng Wu. Mu Yao Yao gloated. However, just before Yao Ying made contact with Feng Wu, green light appeared all over Feng Wu and sparked to life like a protective shield. Yao Ying looked like she had bumped into a wall, and she bounced off the shield. Thump! She was flung back as she smashed into a wall. There was a loud crack, and Yao Ying cried out in pain. Chapter 10:18 Ups and Downs 4. That's enough. Ms. Yu picked Yao Ying up and steadied her. She then frowned at Feng Wu. You can get up now. But Feng Wu ignored her. She then started pressing Yao Hao's acupoints as quickly as she could manage. 3 more left to go and then Feng Wu. That's enough. Yu Yu was genuinely angry now. He's already dead. Is it that difficult to show him some respect? Feng Wu looked perfectly calm. He's not dead. However, her statement only received more stares. The length she would go to have Duan Chaoge exonerated. Did she think the others here couldn't tell a dead person from a living one? How could she? Yu Yu had thought about cutting Feng Wu loose for the sake of Grand Secretary Fang, but she was infuriated by how unreasonable Feng Wu was. Have Feng Wu arrested. The girl wouldn't leave a victim's body alone, and had injured the victim's family member. What Feng Wu had done was abominable. The school guards had been standing by, and they were going to charge at Feng Wu when, what's all this? What do you think you're doing? A familiar voice came from outside. Feng Wu had been feeling uneasy, but she relaxed a little at that voice. She had reached the critical moment of her treatment, and she might not be able to revive Yao Hao if she was interrupted. Priest Wu had shown up just in time. Yes, it was none other than the priest Wu Feng Wu knew. Priest Wu hadn't known about this at first, for as one of the 7 bosses of the college, he hardly ever set foot in the year 1 quarter. But then, he heard that Feng Wu was here in Imperial College, and thought he should pop in to check up on her. Maybe he could persuade her to join the formations department. However, he was shocked by the news as soon as he arrived. What? Little Feng Wu had killed someone. Killing a fellow student was punishable by death. Fearing that Feng Wu would be bullied, Priest Wu arrived as soon as he could. He got there just in time. The crowd turned around, and they reacted differently to the presence of Priest Wu. Students like Yao Ying were too new on campus to recognize Priest Wu, but Yu Yu and Master Duanmu knew better. Priest Wu was the boss of the formations department, and one of the 7 bosses. He was as famous as Elder Xianyuan. Yu Yu looked around at the mess, which was giving her a headache. However, she had no choice but to greet him with a wry smile. Sir, to what do we owe this honor? You must have a lot of work to do. With his hands behind his back, Priest Wu strolled over. He looked at the crowd and was displeased by what he saw. It was obvious that most of these people were against Feng Wu. I was around and I heard the noise. I thought I should pop in. Priest Wu pretended that he was just passing by. He said grumpily, what's this about? The man was one of the 7 bosses, whom students in year 1, 2, and 3 had no opportunity to meet. Only a handful of very lucky students could learn from him, and the little amount he taught could benefit them greatly. To the students, all 7 bosses were as unreachable as deities. Yu Yu didn't dare to take the man lightly, and hurriedly told him what happened. The old man flared up right away. Nonsense. What did he mean? Everyone looked curiously at the old man. Chapter 10:19 What gave him the courage? Priest Wu snorted. If little Feng Wu says she can save him, then he's not dead. What are you doing, hovering around her like this? You're getting in her way. Are you going to take responsibility when he really dies? Little Feng Wu. That sounded intimate. Yu was suddenly struck with realization. That was it. 3 bosses had signed Feng Wu's exam permit, and they were Mr. Liu, Grand Secretary Fang, and Priest Wu. Yu couldn't help but dart another look at Feng Wu. The girl was much more well-connected than she seemed. Priest Wu was obviously taking Feng Wu's side, but the other people didn't dare to say that out loud. However, at that moment Old Wu, what are you doing here at the martial arts department? Someone spoke in an indifferent voice. Another one. Yu turned around and saw that it was Elder Xianyuan. Not only was Xianyuan Kun the grandfather of Xianyuan Yi, he was also the head of the martial arts department. That was to say, he was in charge of all students of the department, from year 1 to year 4. Everyone was baffled to see Xianyuan Kun here. What was going on today? Why did the mysterious bosses keep showing up? They all greeted Xianyuan Kun. Elder Xianyuan nodded, then scanned the crowd with a stern look on his face. His gaze landed on Feng Wu in the end. What's going on? Elder Xianyuan was Yu's direct supervisor, so she immediately told him what happened. However, the fact that Xianyuan Kun showed up here meant that he already knew what was going on. Feng Wu. Xianyuan Kun's eyes glinted, and he had a stern look on his face. How outrageous. School has just started and something like this has already happened in my department. Those who have killed will pay with their lives. Arrest them and lock them up. They'll wait for the death penalty there. The school guards followed Xianyuan Kun's order and charged out. Stop. Priest Wu stepped in. So, Old Wu, are you going to interfere with how I run my department now? Xianyuan Kun sneered at Priest Wu. Priest Wu said, we don't know what happened yet. Elder Xianyuan, you can't sentence someone to death just like this. Feng Wu had left a good impression on Priest Wu, for her formation skills were as good as his. It would be such a pity if she was killed just like this. Priest Wu didn't want to lose such a talented student, which was why he wouldn't give in. That boy is dead. What more do you need to know? Elder Wu, you've stepped out of line, Xianyuan Kun said coldly. He knew who Feng Wu was and realized how capable she was. Before he came here, someone had asked him, with Feng Wu around, would Xianyuan Yi stand a chance? Would people remember who Xianyuan Yi was? That question stirred him like a stone thrown into a still lake. That question was also why Xianyuan Kun had gotten here in a hurry. He wanted to use this chance to get rid of Feng Wu. However, he didn't expect to find Priest Wu here. Instead of staying in his formations department, the guy was bold and upright, and was confronting him. Who gave him the courage? People looked from Xianyuan Kun to Priest Wu and were baffled. Whose order should they follow? Elder Xianyuan bellowed, those who have killed should pay with their own lives. Yao Hao is dead, and the 2 of you will answer for your crime. No one can break the rules of this school. As he spoke, Elder Xianyuan raised a hand. Chapter 10:20 Feng Wu is in trouble. As he spoke, Elder Xianyuan waved his hand in Feng Wu's direction. A vine as thin as a thread flew toward Feng Wu. Sensing the danger, Feng Wu moved quickly and hid behind Priest Wu. She was as nimble as a cat. That was because she had noticed that the thin vine had leaves with serrated edges. She would be a dead body by now if she hadn't acted quickly enough. Xianyuan Kun. Enraged, Priest Wu stared at Elder Xianyuan with bloodshot eyes. Elder Xianyuan didn't look any better. His face had turned livid. Elder Xianyuan said, Priest Wu, you're not meddling in the affairs of my department. The door's right over there, you can show yourself out. Priest Wu asked, what if I say no? Elder Xianyuan replied, then I'll have to remove you from the scene. After that, Elder Xuanyuan's hand landed on Priest Wu. Both big shots were members of the education committee, and were highly capable cultivators. If a fight started between them, the consequences would be unimaginable. Luckily, not many people were here, and the news hadn't gotten out yet. Yu had a bad feeling about this. She shot warning glances at Mr. Hu and Mr. Gu. Go ask Grand Secretary Fang for help. If the two bosses here really got into a fight, how would the students of the martial arts and formations departments face each other? Students were supposed to combine their skills in martial arts and formations in year 2. Mr. Hu reacted quickly and dashed out of the room as soon as he got Chief Yu's hint. The principal's office. Grand Secretary Fang wasn't there. Mr. Hu was going to head for Grand Secretary Fang's house, when he saw an old man strolling in his direction, followed by a good-looking boy. As Grand Secretary Fang walked, he pointed around at the school lawn, teaching the boy the names of the plants. The boy with Grand Secretary Fang was none other than Feng Xiaoqi himself. Grand Secretary Fang had had no interest in Feng Xiaoqi at first, but after he found out about the boy's ultimate spiritual body, he was thrilled. He couldn't wait to take the boy in as his pupil. However, the boy only listened to his sister. He did whatever Feng Wu told him. Feng Wu had said that he wouldn't need a master yet, and the boy followed her order, not acknowledging Grand Secretary Fang as his master. What choice did the old man have? He could only take the boy with him, hoping that he could subtly influence the boy and make him realize that Grand Secretary Fang was indispensable. Usually, it was the pupils that had to go through a probation period. But in this case, it was the other way round. The master himself was being tested. What choice did the old man have? Just as Grand Secretary Fang was patiently showing Feng Xiaoqi all the plants, Mr. Fang. Mr. Fang. Help. Grand Secretary Fang looked up at the man. He wore the teacher's uniform of Imperial College, but Grand Secretary Fang didn't recognize his face. And you are? Mr. Fang. I'm Hu Fang, a teacher from year 1, but that's not the point. I'm here because Mr. Xianyuan and Mr. Wu are fighting. What? Grand Secretary Fang was shocked. Those two didn't see eye to eye, but they had never confronted each other openly. How? Mr. Xianyuan wants to kill Feng Wu. Mr. Wu got straight to the point. What? Before Grand Secretary Fang could do anything, Feng Xiaoqi blanched and rushed over to Mr. Hu. Where is she? Tell me. Where? Mr. Hu didn't know who the kid was, but Grand Secretary Fang was holding his hand. Chapter 1021 A Special Kid. But Mr. Fang was holding the kid's hand, so the kid couldn't be ordinary. Mr. Hu showed Feng Xiaoqi the direction right away. The next second, Feng Xiaoqi ran off at a tremendous speed. Xianyuan-kun wants to kill Feng Wu. Grand Secretary Fang's face darkened. Why? Grand Secretary Fang turned in the direction of the year 1 quarter as he spoke. Mr. Wu then described what had happened so far. Elder Xianyuan said Feng Wu had to pay with her own life for killing Yao Hao, but Mr. Wu wouldn't have it, so. Nonsense. Grand Secretary Fang's face turned livid. The next second, Grand Secretary Fang dashed out of sight. Mr. Hu scratched his head. So, who was Grand Secretary Fang angry at? Mr. Xianyuan or Mr. Wu? By then, Feng Xiaoqi had arrived at the scene. Sister, Feng Xiaoqi charged into the room like a cannonball and threw himself into Feng Wu's arms. Sister, are you alright? Did someone hit you? I'm going to kill them. Thin and fair, the boy didn't have much spiritual essence about him, but he then turned around and glared at Elder Xianyuan. The look in his eyes reminded one of a young, angry beast, and it could shake one to the bone. The boy's eyes were so clean and bright that they seemed to brighten up the world. Even someone as powerful as Elder Xianyuan was shaken by those eyes. Who are you? All eyes were on Feng Xiaoqi. I'm Feng Wu's brother. Anyone who messes with her has to answer to me. The teenager glared at the old man. Mu Yaoyao recognized Feng Xiaoqi right away, which only brought a mocking smile to her face. Feng Xiaoqi, who the hell do you think you are? You don't call the shots here. Mu Yaoyao snorted. She then tried to grab Feng Xiaoqi, so that she could throw him out. Get the hell out of here. But Feng Xiaoqi wasn't the same boy that he used to be. With a quick shift of his body, he easily dodged Mu Yaoyao's hand. He's no ordinary teenager. Elder Xianyuan studied Feng Xiaoqi, feeling that there was something different about the kid. Mu Yaoyao smirked. If that were true, Feng Xiaoqi wouldn't still be a good-for-nothing at this age. A good-for-nothing? Elder Xianyuan frowned. Well, if that was the case, he wasn't concerned anymore. Take him away. Elder Xianyuan grew impatient. This was meant to be a petty incident, but it seemed to last forever. Soon, the school guards charged at them. Wait. Priest Wu was going to interfere, when he heard a familiar voice. It was Grand Secretary Fang. Everyone was astonished. Especially Xianyuan Kun and Priest Wu, who had more information than the others. They knew about the lightning tribulation which Grand Secretary Fang had gone through during his breakthrough, which was why they thought that he should be at home, consolidating his achievement so far. The last thing they expected was to find him here. Elder Xianyuan had been reluctant to work under Grand Secretary Fang. After Mr. Zhuo was removed from his position, Elder Xianyuan was convinced that he would get the job, but Grand Secretary Fang had gotten it instead. Elder Xianyuan had been unreconciled to it ever since. Keeping his gaze on Grand Secretary Fang, Elder Xianyuan reached out with his spiritual essence, trying to feel out Grand Secretary Fang's current cultivation level, but his spiritual essence barely touched Grand Secretary Fang when Grand Secretary Fang's powerful spiritual essence smashed down like a tidal wave. Elder Xuanyuan's spiritual essence dissipated immediately. That hurt. Elder Xianyuan blanched in pain, feeling as if his brain had been struck by lightning. Chapter 1022 Shocked. 1. That was incredible. Grand Secretary Fang used to be about the same cultivation level as Elder Xianyuan. The latter even believed that he was better. But what happened just then astonished him. Grand Secretary Fang then darted an indifferent glance at Elder Xianyuan. In that moment, Elder Xianyuan felt as if his soul had been pierced through. How frighteningly powerful Grand Secretary Fang was. How much stronger had he become after that breakthrough? Elder Xianyuan panicked. Mr. Fang. The others all greeted Grand Secretary Fang. Grand Secretary Fang glanced at Feng Xiaoqi, then waved at the boy. Come over here. Feng Xiaoqi knew what a capable cultivator Grand Secretary Fang was, so he ran up to him in a hurry, tugged at his sleeve, and said eagerly, Hey, that man wants to hurt my sister. Can you kill him for me? Those words he said they shocked everyone. Because Feng Xiaoqi was pointing at none other than Elder Xianyuan, the head of the martial arts department. Everyone drew in their breaths. The brat had crossed the line. Meanwhile, they all recalled what Mu Yaoyao had said just then. Feng Xiaoqi was Feng Wu's brother. That was to say that everyone looked from Feng Wu to Grand Secretary Fang in amazement, and realized that Feng Wu was more well-connected than they realized. After all, her brother was hanging out with Grand Secretary Fang. Yu let out a sigh of relief as well. Convinced that Grand Secretary Fang favored Feng Wu because of her brother. But what was so special about this boy? What did the principal see in him? Everyone was baffled. Just then, the look on Elder Xuanyuan's face changed. You, Elder Xianyuan stared at Feng Xiaoqi. You have an ultimate spiritual body. What? Ultimate spiritual body. Just when they thought that they had enough shocks for one day, there was more. Ultimate spiritual body. Less than a handful of people in the whole of the Junwo Empire were found to have ultimate spiritual bodies. Even those with a semi-ultimate spiritual body would attract fierce competition from clans and forces, all trying to win them to their sides. A boy with an ultimate spiritual body had just shown up here at the college. Whoosh! Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Xiaoqi. They studied Feng Xiaoqi's good-looking face, big bright eyes, and translucent skin. He glanced at Elder Xianyuan, rested his hands on his waist, then snorted. What does my ultimate spiritual body have anything to do with you? So. It was true. Feng Xiaoqi really had an ultimate spiritual body. Shocked, Mu Yaoyao stood there with an open mouth and stared at Feng Xiaoqi in disbelief. That's impossible. Mu Yaoyao was the first to jump out and point at Feng Xiaoqi. She was irritated. If that's the case, why is your cultivation level still so low? You must be lying. However, Elder Xianyuan had rushed over to take Feng Xiaoqi's hand. You're a bad man. Let go of me. Let go. Feng Xiaoqi kicked and scratched, but couldn't throw Elder Xianyuan off. Elder Xuanyuan's grip on Feng Xiaoqi's hand was so tight, and blue veins popped on his temple. All eyes were on Elder Xianyuan. The old man didn't reply, but only stared at Feng Xiaoqi. Kiddo, do you want to join the Xianyuan clan? Don't worry. You don't have to do anything. Just say yes and you'll become an honored guest of the clan. Everyone stared at him in bewilderment. Chapter 1023 Shocked. 2. Elder Xianyuan wouldn't let go of Feng Xiaoqi, nor would he stop talking, and he looked so excited. That was to say. He meant it. Look at how agitated he was. That was to say, Feng Xiaoqi really had an ultimate spiritual body. Mu Yaoyao stared at Feng Xiaoqi in disbelief. Her eyes popped out. How could that be possible? She couldn't believe it. Feng Xiaoqi was so protective of Feng Wu. Imagine how arrogant Feng Wu would be after Feng Xiaoqi reached his full potential. Mu Yaoyao clenched his fists, and the look in her eyes was indescribable. Feng Xiaoqi glared at Elder Xianyuan. You're hurting me. Grand Secretary Fang threw an indifferent look at Elder Xianyuan. Elder Xianyuan, that's enough. He took Elder Xianyuan by the wrist as he spoke. At Grand Secretary Fang's touch, Elder Xianyuan felt as if an electric current had run through his wrist, and his arm went numb from the pain. Petrified, he had no choice but to let go of Feng Xiaoqi. As soon as he was free, Feng Xiaoqi ran over to Grand Secretary Fang and held the latter by the sleeve. He then stuck his head out from behind the old man. Grand Secretary Fang got straight to the point. He asked, Feng Wu, what happened here? Feng Wu shrugged. It's pretty straightforward. In short, Mu Yaoyao owes me her life. She tried to get Yao Hao to provoke me, but I didn't take the bait. Chaoga fell for it instead and hit Yao Hao. Yao Hao then faked his death and Mu Yaoyao thought she could use this to force me to cancel our bet. That way, we would be even. Feng Wu described the whole thing in an indifferent tone. Instantly, all eyes were on Mu Yaoyao. Mu Yaoyao blanched. Behind her, Yi Yifei was already stepping back, trying to put some distance between her and Mu Yaoyao. But Mu Yaoyao was never going to admit it, in spite of the fact that Feng Wu was telling the truth. She glared at Feng Wu anxiously. What the hell are you talking about? I didn't use Yao Hao for anything. Duan Chaoga killed him. Feng Wu asked, did she? Mu Yaoyao snorted. Yao Hao has stopped breathing for a long while, of course he's dead. Feng Wu, I can't believe what bullshit you can come up with to escape responsibility. Feng Wu said, poor Yao Hao. He never knew that you gave him a lethal poison. All this time, you told him that it was only going to be an act. Yao Ying stared at Mu Yao Yao. She recalled how, when her brother got back home yesterday, he told her that he was going to help Princess Mu with something. Once it was done, the Yao family would be further up the social ladder, and by then, the two of them would have a much easier life. But her brother had shown no intention of dying. Sensing Yao Ying's questioning look, Mu Yao Yao felt her heartbeat quicken. She pointed at Feng Wu. You're throwing the first accusation you can think of at me. Do you think anyone is going to believe you? That's ridiculous. Ridiculous or not, we'll see soon enough. Feng Wu smiled. What you told Yao Hao was that he would take secret bone blood and pretend to be dead for a while. After everything blows over, he can be revived, and walk under the sun again. Feng Wu went on. But in fact, what you gave him was secret crow bone blood. The names are very similar, but the effects can't be any more different. Secret bone blood can fake death, but secret crow bone blood is a lethal poison. Mu Yao Yao, what's happening to Yao Hao is very real. Mu Yao Yao was losing ground. No. I did no such thing. You're lying. Feng Wu said, yes, you did. You still have that secret crow bone blood on you. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.